Shoot Me and Go Free. A dark romance novel. Prologue, The Assignment. POV, Kai Sullivan. They gave me 48 hours to decide if I wanted to be free. The concrete walls of the sub-level room beneath Murphy's, Boston's oldest Irish pub, and the Sullivan Syndicate's favorite money-laundering operation, pressed in from all sides. No windows. One steel door, a single bulb swinging overhead, casting shadows that made the three men facing me look like something out of a nightmare. Or maybe that was just who they were. My uncle, Declan Sullivan, sat behind a metal desk that had seen better days. Probably seen worse things, too, if the rust-colored stains near the legs were any indication. He was 62, built like a bulldozer, with silver hair slicked back and eyes the color of dirty ice. Those eyes had watched me grow up, watched me kill for the first time, watched me become exactly what he'd molded me into, a weapon. To his left stood Marcus Chen, the syndicate's accountant. Thin, nervous, always sweating even in winter. He was here to witness, nothing more. The Sullivans liked documentation, liked having insurance in case anyone ever thought about turning state's evidence. To Declan's right was the reason my jaw was clenched tight enough to crack teeth. Ivan Volkov, 6'4" of Russian muscle and tattoos, wearing a suit that probably cost more than most people's cars. He was Bratva, Petrov family enforcer, which meant he was the enemy. The fact that he was standing in our sub-level, in our territory, meant something had shifted in the power dynamics of Boston's underworld. Something big enough that the Irish and the Russians were actually talking instead of shooting. Kai, Declan's voice cut through my thoughts like a blade through flesh. You listening, boy? I'd stopped being a boy at 10 years old the night I watched them put 3 bullets in my father's chest, but Declan never let me forget that he'd taken me in afterward. Raised me, trained me, owned me. I'm listening, I said. My voice came out flat, emotionless, exactly the way I'd been taught to speak when conducting business. Good. Declan leaned back in his chair, the metal groaning under his weight. Because I'm only going to explain this once, and you're going to want to pay attention to every goddamn word. I didn't move, didn't blink, just waited. Ivan shifted his weight, and I tracked the movement with peripheral vision, old habits. Always know where the threats are, always know the fastest way to neutralize them. Always assume everyone in the room wants you dead, because in this life, they probably do. 3 months ago, Declan began, you came to me with a request. You wanted out. The memory flashed through my mind, standing in Declan's office at the compound in Southie, telling him I was done. 19 years of service, 19 years of doing exactly what I was told, no questions asked, and I wanted out. I remember, I said. I told you I'd think about it. Declan pulled a glass and a bottle of Jameson from his desk drawer, poured himself 2 fingers, didn't offer me any, which meant this was serious. Declan only drank alone when he was about to deliver bad news or a death sentence, sometimes both. Well, I've thought about it. My heart rate didn't change. Couldn't let it. Couldn't show weakness, couldn't show hope, couldn't show anything that might be used against me later. And? I asked. And you're right. Declan took a slow sip of whiskey, his eyes never leaving mine. 19 years is a long time. You've been loyal. You've been effective. You've never questioned an order, never failed a job, never given me a reason to doubt you. I waited for the other shoe to drop. There was always another shoe. So I'm going to grant your request, Declan said. You can walk away. No debts, no strings. No looking over your shoulder for the rest of your life, waiting for a bullet with your name on it. The words should have felt like liberation. Should have felt like the prison door finally swinging open after 2 decades of captivity. Instead, they felt like a trap. What's the catch? I asked. Declan smiled. It was the kind of smile that had made grown men beg for mercy. Smart boy, there's always a catch, isn't there? He nodded to Ivan, who stepped forward. The Russian pulled a manila folder from inside his jacket and tossed it onto the desk between us. It landed with a soft thump that somehow sounded louder than a gunshot in the enclosed space. "One final job," Declan said. "You complete it, you walk away clean. You refuse." He shrugged. "Well, then we both know how this story ends." I stared at the folder. Didn't reach for it yet. "What kind of job?" "The kind that solves a problem for both our organizations," Ivan said. His English was perfect, barely touched by an accent. He'd been in Boston since he was a teenager, climbed the ranks of the Petrov family through a combination of brutality and strategic thinking. The kind that requires someone with your particular skill set. "Translation," I said, looking at Declan. "You want me to kill someone." "We want you to eliminate a threat," Declan corrected. "There's a difference." There wasn't. Not really. Dead was dead. Whether you called it elimination or execution or just plain murder. I'd learned that lesson at 15, the first time Declan handed me a gun and pointed me at a man who'd skimmed money from the syndicate's protection rackets. "Pull the trigger, boy. Prove you're one of us." I'd pulled it. I'd proven it, and I'd been proving it ever since. "Open the folder," Declan said. I reached forward, flipped it open. Inside were surveillance photos, printed documents, what looked like financial records. But my eyes went immediately to the photograph on top. A woman. Mid-20s, auburn hair pulled back in a messy bun, green eyes behind dark-rimmed glasses. She was walking down a city street, coffee cup in one hand, messenger bag slung over her shoulder, dressed in business casual, slacks and a blazer, looking like any other professional woman in Boston's financial district. Except she wasn't. "Thea Morgan," Ivan said, leaning against the desk. "Forensic accountant. Works for Morrison and Associates, one of those boutique firms that specializes in tracking money for federal investigations." I kept my expression neutral as I scanned the documents. She was 26. Born in Portland, Maine. Parents died when she was 16. Car accident. No siblings. Graduated top of her class from Boston University. No criminal record. No mob connections. Clean. Too clean for someone who'd ended up in a folder on Declan Sullivan's desk. "What did she do?" I asked. "She saw something she shouldn't have," Ivan said. His jaw tightened. 3 days ago. My associate was handling a problem in the parking garage beneath her office building. She happened to be working late. Happened to look out her window at exactly the wrong moment. A witness. That explained the surveillance photos. Different angles, different locations, all within the last 72 hours. Someone had been tracking her movements since the moment she'd seen whatever she'd seen. "You didn't grab her immediately," I observed. "We tried," Ivan admitted, and there was a flash of something in his eyes. Anger, frustration. "She ran, made it to a police station before we could intercept. Filed a report." "The police believe her?" "No body, no crime scene, no evidence." Ivan's smile was cold. "Detective on duty dismissed it as hysteria. But she knows what she saw, and she has something we need back." I looked at the financial records in the folder. Pages and pages of shell companies, wire transfers, offshore accounts. The kind of paper trail that could bring down an entire organization if it landed in the wrong hands. "She was already investigating you," I said. "The Morrison firm was working a federal audit on Petrov Industries." "Correct." Ivan's fingers drummed against the desk. "We have people inside the firm who keep us informed. We knew she was getting close to discovering certain irregularities. We were planning to handle it quietly, a bribe, a threat, whatever was necessary to make her back off. Then she witnessed the murder. I filled in. Now she's a problem you can't bribe or threaten away. Now she's a problem that needs to be erased," Declan said. He drained his whiskey. "Completely. Permanently. No loose ends." I looked back at the photograph. Thea Morgan smiled in the picture. Just a little, like she'd been caught mid-laugh at something. She had freckles across her nose, looked like the kind of woman who rescued stray cats and volunteered at soup kitchens on weekends. Looked innocent. But I'd learned a long time ago that looks meant nothing in this life. "Why me?" I asked. You've got a dozen soldiers who could handle this. Why make it my exit ticket? Because you're the best, Declan said simply. Because when Kai Sullivan is given a job, that job gets done. No mistakes, no complications. And because the Petrovs specifically requested you. I glanced at Ivan. Why? You have a reputation, the Russian said. Clean work, no unnecessary suffering. If this woman has to die, I'd prefer it be quick, professional. He paused. My superiors feel the same way. How magnanimous. They wanted me to give their victim a merciful death. 48 hours, Declan said. That's how long you have. Find her, eliminate her, bring proof. Then you're done, free and clear. And if I refuse, then you stay in the family. Declan's eyes went hard. Forever. You know the oath, Kai. Blood in, blood out. Only way you leave is in a casket, or with our blessing. Those are your options. I looked at the folder again, at Thea Morgan's face, at the life I was being asked to take in exchange for my own freedom. 19 years. 19 years of doing exactly what I was told. 19 years of blood on my hands, nightmares I couldn't shake, a soul that felt like it had been scraped hollow and filled with concrete. And all I had to do was kill one more person. One more. Then I'd be free. I need to know where she is, I said. Marcus pulled out a laptop, turned it to face me. She's been moving around, staying in cheap motels, paying cash when she can. But she made a mistake this morning. Used her credit card at a coffee shop in South Boston. We've got the address. I memorized the location. Memorized everything in the folder. Her habits, her patterns, the places she might run to. Then I closed it. 48 hours, I repeated. 48 hours, Declan confirmed. Clock started at noon today. That gives you until noon Thursday. Don't be late. I stood, picked up the folder. Turned to leave. Kai. I stopped at the door, didn't turn around. This is it, Declan said quietly. Your last job, your last kill. After this, you get to be whoever you want to be. Live a normal life. Find a nice girl. Hell, maybe even have kids someday. But only if you do this. Only if you prove one more time that your loyalty to this family comes before everything else. I didn't answer. Just opened the door and walked out. The stairwell leading back up to street level felt like climbing out of a grave. My footsteps echoed against concrete walls covered in decades of grime and graffiti. By the time I pushed through the exit door into the Boston night, cold November air hitting my face like a slap, I'd already made my decision. I'd find Thea Morgan. I'd complete the job. I'd earn my freedom. I'd done it before, I could do it again. One more body, one more life snuffed out. One more nightmare to add to the collection. What was one more? I headed to my car. A black Charger, nondescript, perfect for surveillance work. Tossed the folder onto the passenger seat. Sat behind the wheel and stared at nothing for a long moment. Somewhere out there, Thea Morgan was running, scared, desperate, probably thought she was going to die. She was right. I started the engine. 48 hours. The clock was already ticking. Chapter 1. The Witness. POV. Thea Morgan. 3 days before Kai Sullivan received his assignment, I was sitting in my office at Morrison & Associates, 4th floor, corner window overlooking the parking garage, wondering if I should order Thai food or just go home and eat cereal for dinner like the responsible adult I pretended to be. I chose cereal. That decision saved my life. It was 9:47 p.m. on a Monday. The office was empty except for me and the cleaning crew working their way through the 3rd floor. I could hear the distant hum of a vacuum cleaner, the occasional clatter of a trash bin being emptied. Normal sounds. Safe sounds. The sounds of a world that still made sense. I'd been working the Petrov Industries audit for 3 weeks. Standard corporate investigation. The kind of thing Morrison specialized in. Some federal regulator had flagged irregularities in their import/export business, and our firm had been contracted to dig through their financial records, and determine if those irregularities were simple accounting errors or something more sinister. Spoiler alert, they were something more sinister. I'd spent the last 72 hours tracing money through a labyrinth of shell companies. Petrov Industries had subsidiaries in 17 countries. Those subsidiaries had subsidiaries. And those subsidiaries were moving money in patterns that made absolutely no sense from a legitimate business standpoint. Unless you understood what you were looking at. Money laundering. Textbook case. Millions of dollars flowing in from sources I couldn't identify, getting cleaned through fake real estate transactions and non-existent consulting fees, then flowing back out to accounts in the Cayman Islands, Switzerland, Cyprus. The kind of operation that took years to build and serious criminal connections to maintain. I'd compiled everything onto a flash drive. Tomorrow morning, I'd present my findings to Harrison Morrison, the firm's senior partner. He'd pass it along to the federal investigators. The FBI would get involved. Petrov Industries would face serious charges. And I'd go back to my normal routine of tracking corporate embezzlement and insurance fraud. That was the plan. I shut down my laptop, slipped the flash drive into my messenger bag, and stood to stretch. My back cracked in 3 places. I'd been hunched over spreadsheets for so long that my spine had apparently forgotten what upright posture felt like. That's when I looked out the window. My office overlooked the parking garage, one of those multi-level concrete structures that always smelled like exhaust and made you feel like you were in the opening scene of a horror movie. Security lighting cast everything in harsh yellow-white, creating deep shadows between the cars. Most of the spots were empty at this hour, just a handful of vehicles scattered across the visible levels. And 2 men standing between a black Mercedes and a concrete support pillar. I almost didn't stop to look, almost just grabbed my bag and headed out, but something made me pause. Maybe it was the body language, the way one man was backing away from the other, hands raised in a gesture that looked like pleading. Maybe it was the way the second man stood perfectly still, something dark and metallic glinting in his right hand. Maybe it was instinct. Whatever it was, I froze, watched. The pleading man dropped to his knees. The standing man raised his arm. Even through the window, even from 40 feet away, I recognized what I was seeing. A gun. "No," I whispered. "No, no, no." The muzzle flash was bright enough to leave spots in my vision. The sound didn't carry. The window was too thick, the distance too great. But I saw the kneeling man's body jerk backward, saw him collapse onto the concrete, saw the killer stand over him for a long moment, gun still raised. Then the killer looked up, directly at my window, directly at me. Our eyes met across 40 feet of empty air and glass. His face was pale in the security lighting, sharp-featured, cold. But it was his eyes that made my blood turn to ice. Empty. Like there was nothing behind them except an endless void. He stared at me for 3 seconds, 4, 5. Then he raised one hand, the one not holding the gun, and pointed directly at me. A promise. I stumbled backward, my hips slamming into my desk hard enough to send pain shooting down my leg. My laptop crashed to the floor. Papers scattered. I didn't care. I ran. Out of my office, down the hallway, my heels echoing off the walls like gunshots. The elevator was too slow. He could be coming up right now, could be in the building, could be... I hit the stairwell at full speed, taking the stairs 2 at a time, one hand on the railing to keep from falling. My messenger bag slammed against my ribs with each step. My breath came in ragged gasps that burned my throat. 4th floor, 3rd floor, 2nd floor. I burst through the ground-level exit and immediately veered away from the parking garage entrance, ran toward the street instead, toward lights and people and witnesses, toward safety. My hands shook so badly I could barely get my phone out of my bag, dropped it once. Had to bend down and grab it off the sidewalk, certain that any second I'd feel a hand on my shoulder or a bullet in my back. I dialed 911. 911. What's your emergency? Murder, I gasped out. I just witnessed a murder. Parking garage. Corner of Boylston and... I looked around wildly, trying to remember where I was. Berkeley, the parking garage on the corner. Ma'am, slow down. You witnessed a murder? Yes. A man was shot. He's dead. The killer. He saw me. He looked right at me. Ma'am, where are you now? I was running. Not toward anything specific, just away. Away from the office. Away from the parking garage. Away from those empty eyes. I'm on Boylston, heading toward the Common. I'm sending units to your location. Stay on the line with me. Can you describe what you saw? I described it. All of it. The two men, the gun, the body dropping, the killer looking up at me. Can you describe the shooter? Tall, maybe 6'3" or 6'4". Dark suit. I think he had tattoos on his neck, but I'm not sure. It was dark. But his eyes. My voice cracked. I'll never forget his eyes. By the time the police arrived, I was sitting on a bench near the public garden, shaking so hard my teeth chattered. Two patrol officers, one older, weathered-looking, one younger, still baby-faced. They took my statement, asked me to repeat everything 3 times. Then a detective showed up. Detective Brennan, 50s, gray hair, tired eyes, the kind of cop who'd seen too much and stopped being surprised by anything. He listened to my statement, took notes, then he made a phone call. When he hung up, his expression told me everything I needed to know. Miss Morgan, he said gently, we sent units to the parking garage. They did a thorough sweep of every level. And? My voice sounded hollow. Did you find the body? We didn't find anything. The words hit me like a physical blow. What do you mean you didn't find anything? No body, no blood, no evidence that anything happened there tonight. But I believe you saw something, Detective Brennan interrupted. But without physical evidence, there's not much we can do. Could you have witnessed an assault? Maybe a fight that looked worse than it was from a distance. He had a gun. I saw the muzzle flash. Could it have been something else? A phone's camera flash? Car headlights reflecting off something? I know what I saw. But even as I said it, doubt crept in. The window had been thick, the distance significant, the lighting poor. No, I knew what I'd seen. I have your statement on file, Detective Brennan said. If any evidence turns up, or if you remember any additional details, give me a call. He handed me his card. In the meantime, go home. Get some rest. You've had a traumatic experience. Traumatic experience, like I'd witnessed a car accident or a bad breakup. Not a murder. Not a man's life ending in a parking garage while I watched. They offered to drive me home. I refused. Took an Uber instead, watching the streets pass by in a blur of streetlights and shadows. The driver tried to make conversation. I pretended to be asleep. My apartment was a 3rd-floor walk-up in Brighton. Small, affordable, mine. I'd lived there for 4 years, ever since landing the job at Morrison & Associates. It had always felt safe before. Tonight it felt like a trap. I locked the door, threw the deadbolt, engaged the chain lock. Then I stood in my dark living room and stared at the door, waiting for it to burst open. It didn't. I was being paranoid. The detective was probably right. I'd seen something, but maybe it wasn't what I thought. Maybe the man hadn't died. Maybe they'd cleaned up and left before the police arrived. Maybe... My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I stared at it. Let it go to voicemail. 30 seconds later, another buzz. Text message. Unknown, you saw something you shouldn't have. My blood turned to ice. Another buzz. Unknown, they're coming for you. Unknown, run. The phone slipped from my nerveless fingers and clattered onto the hardwood floor. Someone knew. Someone knew I'd witnessed the murder. Someone knew where I was. And they were coming. I didn't think, just acted. Grabbed my laptop bag, shoved clothes into a duffel, whatever I could grab fastest. Grabbed the flash drive with all my research. Grabbed my passport and the emergency cash I kept in my underwear drawer. Grabbed my phone. Left everything else. I was out the door in under 5 minutes. taking the back stairs that led to the alley behind my building. My car was parked on the street, but I didn't dare go to it. Too visible, too traceable. Instead, I ran. Found a 24-hour convenience store 6 blocks away. Bought a prepaid phone with cash. Used it to call an Uber. Had it pick me up 2 blocks from the store. "Where to?" the driver asked. "South Station," I said. I'd figure out the rest from there. The driver pulled away from the curb, and I watched my neighborhood disappear behind me. Watched my life, my safe, ordinary, boring life, vanish into the night. I'd witnessed a murder, and now someone was coming to make sure I never testified about it. The text messages kept coming. Different numbers, same message. Unknown. Run faster. Unknown. They know where you are. Unknown. You can't hide. By the time I reached South Station, I had received 7 messages. I turned off the prepaid phone, pulled the battery, threw both pieces into different trash cans. Bought a bus ticket to New York with cash. Got off the bus in Providence instead. Bought another ticket to Hartford. Got off in Worcester. Spent the night in a motel that charged by the hour and didn't ask for ID. The next day, I moved again. And the day after that. And the day after that. Always moving, always looking over my shoulder, always waiting for those empty eyes to find me in a crowd. I made it 72 hours. Then I made my first mistake. I bought coffee with my credit card. One transaction. One moment of weakness. I was exhausted, scared, and desperate for something familiar. One mistake. That's all it took. By 2 a.m. the next morning, a man I'd never met was standing in my motel room with a gun in his hand and my life in his eyes. His name was Kai Sullivan, and he'd been sent to kill me. Chapter 2, The Capture. POV Kai. The motel was exactly the kind of place where people went to disappear. Peeling paint on the exterior walls, neon sign missing half its letters, M_telephone VA_ANSI, buzzing like an angry wasp in the humid night air. Cars in the parking lot were either 20 years old or stolen. The clerk behind the bulletproof glass didn't ask questions because he didn't want answers. Perfect for someone running. Perfect for someone hunting. I'd parked 3 blocks away and approached on foot. Old habit. Never let your vehicle be seen near the scene. Never leave evidence that puts you at the location. Never make mistakes that could be traced back later. Thea Morgan was in room 14, ground floor, far end of the building, positioned so she could see anyone approaching from the parking lot. Smart. She'd chosen the room strategically, which meant she had some survival instincts. Not enough to keep her off the grid, though. The credit card transaction had pinged at 7:43 a.m. coffee shop in South Boston, 2 blocks from this motel. Marcus had the alert within minutes. Called Declan, and Declan called me. Found her. You've got 36 hours left on the clock. Don't waste them. I'd spent the day watching, learning her patterns. She'd left the motel once, quick trip to a convenience store, paid cash, kept her head down. Returned within 20 minutes. Hadn't left since. Now it was 2 a.m. The motel was quiet, except for sounds drifting from a few occupied rooms. A television too loud, an argument in Spanish, the rhythmic creaking of bed springs. I crossed the parking lot in silence. Black tactical boots, dark jeans, black jacket. Nothing that would catch the light, nothing that would make noise. I'd done this enough times that my body moved on autopilot. Weight distributed correctly, breathing controlled. Every sense alert for threats. Room 14's window curtains were drawn, but light leaked around the edges. She was awake. Good. I preferred targets to be conscious, made verification easier. I pulled a lockpick set from my jacket pocket. The motel door lock was cheap. Took me less than 30 seconds to defeat it. The click of the mechanism disengaging sounded loud in the quiet night, but not loud enough to carry beyond a few feet. I eased the door open. No chain lock engaged. Another mistake on her part. The room was small. 1 bed, 1 bathroom, 1 chair, 1 table. Thea Morgan sat on the bed, laptop open in front of her, earbuds in. Her auburn hair was down, falling past her shoulders in waves that looked like they hadn't seen a brush in days. She wore yoga pants and an oversized sweater. No shoes. She hadn't heard me enter. I stepped inside, closed the door behind me with a soft click. She looked up. For one frozen moment, we stared at each other. I'd studied her photograph, memorized her face, but seeing her in person was different. The photo hadn't captured the intelligence in her green eyes, the stubborn set of her jaw, the way she held herself even when caught off guard. Spine straight, chin up, refusing to cower. She yanked the earbuds out. "Who sent you? Petrov." Her voice was steady, no screaming, no panic. Just a direct question asked like she was in a business meeting instead of staring down her own death. "Interesting." "No," I said, "but I'm the one taking you in." She was off the bed in one fluid motion, laptop forgotten. Her eyes darted to the bathroom, calculating distance, weighing options. I could see her mind working, trying to find an escape route. There wasn't one. "Where are you taking me?" she asked. "Somewhere safe." Safe for who? That remains to be seen. She lunged for the bathroom. Fast. Faster than I'd expected. Almost made it too. I caught her arm, spun her around, and had her against the wall in under 2 seconds. She struggled. Really struggled. Not the helpless flailing of someone who'd never been in a fight. She knew how to move, how to use leverage, how to aim for vulnerable spots. Her knee came up toward my groin. I blocked it with my thigh. Her elbow drove toward my ribs. I deflected it. She tried to stomp on my instep. I shifted my weight. "Stop," I said quietly. "You're going to hurt yourself." "Good." She drove her forehead toward my nose, a headbutt that would have broken bone if it had connected. I jerked back, and she used the momentum to twist out of my grip. Made it 3 steps toward the door before I caught her again, this time locking both her wrists behind her back in a submission hold that was painful but wouldn't leave marks. She went still, not submission, calculation, waiting for another opening. "There isn't one," I said, reading her body language. "I'm better trained than you. Stronger, faster. You can't fight your way out of this." "Then I guess you'll have to drag me." Her voice was tight with pain but still defiant. "Because I'm not going quietly. Most people in this situation would be begging, offering money, offering anything." She was offering resistance. Against my better judgment, I felt a flicker of respect. I reached into my jacket pocket with my free hand and pulled out zip-tie handcuffs. Police grade. Heavy duty. She saw them and renewed her struggle, but I already had the advantage. Secured her wrists behind her back in seconds. "Please," she said finally. The word came out raw. "Please, I don't know what I saw. I didn't tell the police anything useful. I don't have any evidence. You can let me go. I'll disappear. I'll never." "You have a flash drive," I interrupted. "Financial records. 3 weeks of research into Petrov Industries, money laundering operation." Her face went pale. "You were planning to present your findings tomorrow," I continued, "to Harrison Morrison, who would pass them to federal investigators, who would bring down an organization that's been operating in this city for 30 years. How do you... There are no secrets in this world. Just information people haven't found yet." I steered her toward the door. "Walk. Don't fight. Don't scream. If you cooperate, this will be easier for both of us." "Easier?" She let out a laugh that sounded like broken glass. "You're going to kill me. How is that easier?" I didn't answer. Couldn't tell her I hadn't decided yet. Couldn't tell her that something about this entire situation felt wrong. Couldn't tell her that for the first time in 19 years I was questioning an order. POV Thea. The man marching me toward my death was nothing like the killer I'd seen in the parking garage. That man had been tall, heavily tattooed, wearing an expensive suit. This man was maybe 6'2", dressed in dark tactical clothing, with short dark brown hair and eyes the color of storm clouds. No visible tattoos. No jewelry. Nothing to distinguish him except the cold, professional way he moved. Like violence was a language he spoke fluently. "What's your name?" I asked as he guided me through the parking lot toward a black Charger. He didn't answer. "Are you going to tell me anything, like why you're doing this? Or who you're working for? Or—" "Get in the car." He opened the passenger door. "What if I refuse?" "Then I'll put you in the car myself. Your choice." I believed him. Something about his voice, flat, emotionless, matter-of-fact, told me he'd done this before, many times before. I got in the car. He closed the door, walked around to the driver's side. I tested the zip ties. Tight, professionally applied, no slack to exploit. The door locks engaged with a heavy click, child-proof. I couldn't open them from the inside. He started the engine and pulled out of the parking lot. "Where are you taking me?" I tried again. Silence. "Are you working for Petrov?" More silence. "You know, statistically speaking, people who witness crimes are way less dangerous than you think. I mean, most witnesses can't even identify a suspect in a lineup. Eyewitness testimony is notoriously unreliable. There's this whole psychological phenomenon about memory reconstruction." "I know what you saw." He cut me off without looking at me. "And it wasn't unreliable." My mouth went dry. What did I see? Ivan Volkov executing a man named Timothy Chen, Petrov family accountant, who'd been skimming money from operations. They made it look like a standard murder in a parking garage. Messy, emotional, the kind of thing that happens in this city every day. But you didn't just witness a random killing, you witnessed an organized hit. The way he said it, so casual like discussing the weather, made my stomach turn. "How do you know all this?" I whispered. "Because I know how this world works." For the first time he glanced at me. Those gray eyes were unreadable in the darkness. "You don't?" "Then explain it to me." "No." "Why not? I'm going to die anyway, right? What difference does it make?" His jaw tightened. "You talk a lot." "It's a defense mechanism. When I'm nervous, I get chatty." "Did you know that talking actually helps regulate the nervous system? There's this thing called the vagus nerve." "I'm aware." "Oh, are you like medically trained? Or just good at killing people? Because those seem like very different skill sets, although I guess there's overlap in anatomy knowledge." "Miss Morgan." His voice cut through my rambling like a knife. "I need you to stop talking. Will you answer one question if I do?" He said nothing, which I took as a maybe. "What's your name?" The silence stretched so long I thought he wouldn't answer. Then, "Kai." Just the one name, no last name, but it was something. Something human, something to hold on to in a situation that felt increasingly surreal. "Kai," I repeated, testing it out. "Are you going to kill me, Kai?" His hands tightened on the steering wheel. I noticed then that his knuckles were scarred. Old wounds, healed over, the hands of someone who'd been in a lot of fights. "I have a job to do," he said finally. "That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting." We drove in silence after that. I watched the city pass by through the window, familiar streets becoming less familiar as we headed away from Boston proper, away from people, away from witnesses, away from hope. My heart hammered against my ribs. My wrists ached from the zip ties. My mind raced through possibilities, plans, desperate scenarios where I somehow escaped. None of them ended well. "I'm not a bad person," I said quietly. "I know you probably don't care, but I want you to know that. I'm just a forensic accountant. I follow money trails. I help catch people who cheat on their taxes or embezzle from their companies. I'm boring. I'm nobody. I don't deserve to die for doing my job." "Nobody deserves to die," Kai said, "but people die anyway." That's a very nihilistic worldview. It's a realistic one. I studied his profile on the dashboard lights. Strong jaw, straight nose, a small scar near his left temple. He was handsome in a severe, austere way, like a statue carved from granite. "Have you killed before?" I asked. "Yes." The honesty surprised me. "How many people?" I stopped counting. My blood turned cold. "And you just do it? Without feeling anything?" For the first time, something flickered across his expression. Too fast for me to identify, but it was there. Proof that maybe, underneath all that ice, there was still something human. Where are you taking me? I tried one more time. This time, he answered, somewhere away from the city, somewhere private. So you can kill me. So I can figure out what to do with you. I thought you had orders. I do. Then what's there to figure out? He didn't answer, just drove. We'd been on the road for maybe 40 minutes when he turned off the highway onto a rural route. Trees pressed close on both sides. No houses. No streetlights. Just darkness and the narrow ribbon of road cutting through the woods. My hands started shaking. This was it. This was where I'd die. Not in a hospital bed, surrounded by loved ones. Not old and peaceful in my sleep. But here, in the woods, at the hands of a stranger named Kai who killed for a living. The car slowed, turned onto a dirt road barely visible between the trees. After another mile, a cabin appeared in the headlights. Small, isolated. The kind of place where you could scream and no one would ever hear you. Kai killed the engine. The sudden silence was deafening. Please, I whispered. Please don't do this. He opened his door, came around to my side, opened it. Out! My legs didn't want to move. Terror had turned my muscles to water. Miss Morgan? His voice was gentler now. Not kind, exactly, but not cruel either. I'm not going to hurt you tonight, but I need you to cooperate. Can you do that? I didn't believe him. But what choice did I have? I got out of the car on shaking legs. He placed a hand on my shoulder, not rough, not gentle, just firm, and guided me toward the cabin. Welcome to your temporary accommodation, he said, unlocking the door. We'll be here for a while. How long is a while? 48 hours. 2 days. I had 2 days to figure out how to survive. 2 days before Kai Sullivan decided if I lived or died. He pushed open the door and gestured for me to enter. I stepped into the cabin, into the unknown, into a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. The door closed behind us with a soft click that sounded like a coffin lid shutting. And I knew, with absolute certainty, that nothing would ever be the same again. Chapter 3. The Safe House. POV. Thea. The cabin was smaller than it looked from the outside. One main room serving as kitchen and living area, bare minimum furniture, a couch that had seen better decades, a wooden table with 2 chairs. A door to the left led to what I assumed was a bedroom. Another door on the right. Bathroom, probably. Windows with heavy curtains already drawn. No decorations. No personal touches. Nothing that suggested anyone actually lived here. A safe house. The kind of place people used when they needed to disappear. Or when they needed to make someone else disappear. Kai locked the door behind us. 3 locks. Deadbolt, chain, and something else I didn't recognize. Professional grade. The kind you couldn't pick from the outside. The kind designed to keep people in, not out. Sit. He gestured to the couch. I remained standing. I'd rather not. It wasn't a request. Then I'd rather stand while you force me. His gray eyes studied me for a long moment. I couldn't read the expression in them. Annoyance? Respect? Nothing at all? You're making this harder than it needs to be, he said finally. Good. I hope I make everything hard for you. The corner of his mouth twitched. Almost a smile. Almost. Then it was gone, replaced by that blank professional mask. He moved toward me, and I backed up instinctively until my spine hit the wall. He stopped 3 feet away, close enough that I could smell him. Gun oil and something clean like pine soap. Not unpleasant. That made it worse somehow. I'm going to cut the zip ties, he said. Don't do anything stupid. Define stupid. Running, fighting, screaming. Pick any or all of the above. What if I promise to only do moderately unintelligent things? That almost smile flickered again. We'll negotiate. He pulled a knife from his belt, tactical folder, wicked sharp blade that caught the overhead light. I tensed as he moved behind me, every muscle in my body screaming, "Run, run, run," even though there was nowhere to go. The zip ties fell away. Blood rushed back into my hands in a painful flood of pins and needles. I brought my wrists around front, rubbing circulation back into them. Deep red marks circled both wrists. They'd start bruising soon. "Thank you," I said automatically, then felt stupid for thanking my captor. Kai moved away, putting distance between us, folded the knife and returned it to his belt. "Bathroom is through there." He nodded toward the door on the right. "No windows, no weapons. Don't bother looking for either." "What about the bedroom?" "Also no windows, also no weapons. This place was designed for exactly this purpose. Holding people prisoner? Keeping people safe. Those aren't the same thing." "Sometimes they are." I crossed to the bathroom and looked inside. He hadn't been lying. Small space, toilet, sink, shower stall. No windows. Not even a medicine cabinet I could smash for a makeshift weapon. Just basic toiletries and a stack of clean towels. Prison with better amenities. I closed the door, sat on the edge of the bathtub and pressed my palms against my eyes, trying to hold back the scream building in my chest. 72 hours ago, I'd been living a normal life. Boring job, boring apartment, boring routine. My biggest concern had been whether to get Thai food or eat cereal for dinner. Now I was trapped in a cabin in the woods with a professional killer who'd been ordered to end my life. How did this become my reality? A knock on the door made me jump. "Miss Morgan, you have 5 minutes. Then I need you back in the main room." I didn't answer. Just turned on the shower and let the water run, pretending I was using it. Really? I was searching for anything. Anything I could use as a weapon or a tool. Nothing. Whoever had set up this safe house knew what they were doing. 5 minutes later, I emerged. Kai was sitting at the kitchen table, a laptop open in front of him. He glanced up as I entered, then returned his attention to the screen. "There's food in the refrigerator," he said without looking at me. "Help yourself." My stomach was a knot of anxiety, but I was also starving. Hadn't eaten since, when? Yesterday? The day before? Time had become meaningless. I opened the refrigerator. Surprisingly well stocked. Fresh vegetables, deli meat, bread, cheese, bottles of water, even some fruit. "You planning to keep me here long?" I asked. 48 hours. I told you." "Right. Your deadline." I pulled out bread and cheese. "What happens when the 48 hours are up?" "That depends." "On what?" "On a lot of things you don't need to worry about right now." I made a sandwich, mechanically. Sat at the table across from him. The domestic normalcy of the situation was surreal, like we were roommates sharing a meal instead of captor and captive. "What are you working on?" I nodded toward his laptop. "Reports." "For who?" "People who pay me to write reports." "The mob?" He looked up then. Really looked at me. "You ask a lot of questions. You give a lot of non-answers. Maybe that should tell you something." "It tells me you don't trust me." I took a bite of sandwich, barely tasted it. "Which is fair, since I don't trust you either." "Smart." "I'm a forensic accountant. Being smart is literally my job description." "Is that what you were doing with the Petrov files? Being smart?" I set down the sandwich. "I was doing my job. A federal investigator hired my firm to audit Petrov Industries, finances. I followed the money, found irregularities. Was going to report my findings. Standard procedure. Nothing about this situation is standard. I'm starting to realize that." I met his eyes. "But I didn't know I was investigating the mob. I thought it was just corporate fraud. White-collar crime. The boring kind that ends in fines, and maybe some prison time, not executions in parking garages." "Ignorance isn't a defense." "I know, but it's the truth." He studied me for a long moment. I couldn't tell what he was thinking. His face gave away nothing. "You should eat," he said finally, "and then get some sleep. You look exhausted." "I wonder why." "The bedroom is through there." He nodded toward the left door. "Lock it if it makes you feel better. Although we both know it won't stop me if I need to get in." The casual way he said it, like breaking down doors was just another Tuesday for him, sent chills down my spine. "Where will you sleep?" I asked. "I won't." "For 48 hours straight?" "I've gone longer." I believed him. He had the look of someone who'd been trained to function on minimal resources. Military, maybe? Or just mob conditioning? I finished the sandwich in silence. Drank a bottle of water. My body desperately needed fuel, even if my mind was too anxious to appreciate it. "Thank you," I said, standing, "for the food." "You're welcome." The politeness was absurd. Two people pretending this was a normal interaction, like we hadn't met because he'd been sent to kill me. I walked to the bedroom door, paused with my hand on the knob. "Kai?" "Yes." "That man in the parking garage, Timothy Chen. Did he have a family?" Silence. Then, "A wife, 2 daughters. Do they know what happened to him?" "Not yet. They will soon. The Petrovs will deliver the body once they're sure there are no loose ends." "Loose ends. Like me." "I'm sorry," I whispered, "for his family. He made choices that led to his death. We all do." "Is that supposed to comfort me?" "No. It's supposed to remind you that actions have consequences. Even innocent ones." I wanted to argue, wanted to say that I hadn't done anything wrong, that I was just doing my job, that none of this was fair. But fair didn't matter in this world. Only survival did. I entered the bedroom and closed the door. Found the lock. Just a simple push-button mechanism. Nothing that would actually keep Kai out. But I engaged it anyway. The small click provided an illusion of safety. The room was even more Spartan than the main area. Single bed with clean sheets, small dresser, bedside table with a lamp. No windows, just like he'd said. I lay down on the bed fully clothed. Stared at the ceiling. I should be planning an escape, thinking strategically, using my analytical skills to find a way out of this situation. Instead, I found myself thinking about Kai. The way his hands had been gentle when he cut the zip ties, even though he could have been rough. The way he'd made sure there was food in the refrigerator before bringing me here. The way he'd answered my questions. Not fully, but not completely stonewalling me either. Small mercies from a man who'd been sent to kill me. Why? If he was just following orders, why bother with any of it? Why not just execute me in the motel room and be done with it? 48 hours, he'd said. What changed in 48 hours? I must have fallen asleep despite everything, because when I opened my eyes again, pale gray light was seeping under the door. Morning. I'd survived the first night. My body ached from tension. My mouth tasted like copper and fear. But I was alive. I used the bathroom, splashed water on my face, tried to make myself presentable. My reflection in the mirror looked like a stranger, hollow-eyed, pale hair a mess. The face of someone who'd stopped sleeping properly 3 days ago. When I emerged from the bedroom, Kai was exactly where I'd left him, still sitting at the table. Still working on the laptop. He didn't look tired, didn't look like he'd been awake all night. Maybe he really hadn't slept. "Coffee?" he asked without looking up. "Yes, please." He stood, moved to the kitchen counter where a coffee maker was already brewing, poured 2 cups, added cream and sugar to one without asking, handed it to me. "How did you know?" "I'm observant." He returned to his seat with black coffee. I took a sip. Perfect. Exactly how I liked it. That should have been comforting. Instead, it was terrifying. He'd been watching me, studying me. New details about my life I hadn't shared. "What else do you know about me?" I asked. "Enough." "That's not specific." "It's not meant to be." I sat across from him again, cradled the warm mug in my hands. "You know, for someone who's supposed to kill me, you're being surprisingly hospitable. Would you prefer I wasn't?" "I'd prefer not to be here at all." "We don't always get what we prefer." Is that another life lesson from the mob's philosophy handbook? This time, he actually smiled, small, brief, but real. Something like that. We drank coffee in silence. Outside, birds were starting to sing, morning sounds filtering through the cabin's walls, the world continuing on like everything was normal. "Can I ask you something?" I said finally. "You can ask. I may not answer." "Fair enough." I took a breath. "Why did you become whatever you are?" "A killer? An enforcer? I didn't become anything," he interrupted. "I was made into this. There's a difference." "What does that mean?" He was quiet for so long I thought he wouldn't answer. "Then, it means I didn't have a choice. Some of us are born into this life, born into families where violence is currency and loyalty is bought with blood. You learn to kill or you die. Those are the options." "You could have left." "Could I?" His gray eyes met mine. "You don't understand how this works. You don't just walk away from the mob. You don't retire and get a gold watch and a pension. Once you're in for life. Until someone orders you to kill an innocent accountant and suddenly you get offered a way out." His expression hardened. "Who told you that?" "Nobody. I'm just good at reading between the lines. You said you have 48 hours. You said this job is different. You're being evasive about what happens at the end of the deadline." I leaned forward. "This is your exit ticket, isn't it? Kill me, and you go free." He said nothing, but his silence was confirmation enough. "So why haven't you?" I pressed. "Why go through all this trouble? Why bring me here instead of just shooting me in the motel room and being done with it?" "Because I'm not them," he said quietly. "I may be a killer, but I'm not a monster." "There's a difference?" "Yes." "Then prove it." I met his eyes. "Let me go." "I can't." "Why not?" "Because if I don't complete this job, they'll send someone else. Someone who won't hesitate. Someone who won't care that you're innocent." He stood abruptly, turning away from me. "At least with me, it'll be quick, painless. You won't suffer." "How generous," I said bitterly. "It's the best I can offer." "Then your best isn't good enough." He spun back to face me, and for the first time, I saw real emotion in his eyes. Anger, frustration, and something else. Guilt. "You think I don't know that?" His voice was rough. "You think I want to do this? You think I enjoy knowing that an innocent woman is going to die because I need my freedom? Then don't do it. It's not that simple." "Yes, it is." I stood too, facing him across the small kitchen. "You have a choice. You always have a choice. You can choose to be better than what they made you. You can choose." The sound of my own breathing was loud in the sudden silence. We stared at each other. Too close. We'd moved too close during the argument. I could see the flecks of darker gray in his storm cloud eyes, could see the barely visible scar near his temple, could see the muscle ticking in his jaw as he fought for control. "You don't understand," he said quietly. "Then explain it to me." "I can't. Won't. Can't." He took a step back, creating distance, creating safety. "It's complicated. Try me. I'm smarter than I look." That almost smile again. I know. My heart was beating too fast. From the argument, from the fear, from something else I didn't want to name. "Kai." "You should eat breakfast," he interrupted. "Eggs in the refrigerator. Pan in the cupboard below the stove." Subject closed. Walls back up. I wanted to push, wanted to demand answers, but something in his posture told me I'd hit a limit. So I let it go. For now. POV Kai. She was getting under my skin. I'd handled dozens of jobs over the years, executed targets without hesitation because hesitation got you killed in this life. I'd mastered the art of emotional distance, of seeing people as objectives rather than humans. But Thea Morgan wouldn't let me. She kept talking, kept asking questions, kept looking at me with those green eyes that saw too much, kept reminding me that she was a person, not a target. I stood at the window, careful to stay behind the curtain where I couldn't be seen from outside, watched the forest, watched for threats, watched anything except her. Behind me, I could hear her moving around the kitchen, making eggs, humming something under her breath, a nervous habit probably. The domesticity of it was jarring. 36 hours left. 36 hours to decide if I could actually pull the trigger. I'd killed before, many times. But never someone truly innocent. Never someone who'd just been in the wrong place at the wrong time. Never someone who looked at me like I might still have something human left inside. My phone buzzed. Text from Declan. Declan, status report. I typed back with one hand. Kai, package secured, on schedule. Declan, good, no complications? Kai, none. Lies, all of it lies. This entire situation was one massive complication. Declan, midnight tomorrow, don't be late, your freedom is waiting. I pocketed the phone. Freedom. I'd dreamed about it for 19 years, imagined what it would feel like to wake up without blood on my hands, to make my own choices, to be something other than a weapon. All I had to do was kill one more person. One more. Kai? Thea's voice pulled me from my thoughts. Do you want eggs? I turned. She stood at the stove, spatula in hand, looking so ridiculously normal that it hurt. No, I said. Thank you. You should eat. I'm fine. You've been awake for over 24 hours. You need fuel. I'm used to it. She studied me. Those analytical eyes taking in details, drawing conclusions. How long have you been doing this? She asked quietly. Doing what? Killing people. Working for the mob. Whatever this is. I should have deflected, should have shut down the conversation. Instead, I heard myself say, 19 years. Her eyes widened. Since you were 10. The spatula in her hand trembled slightly. They made you kill when you were 10 years old? They made me watch. At first, the words were coming out before I could stop them. My father was executed for betraying the family. I was there. My uncle Declan took me in afterward, raised me, trained me. By 15, I was working jobs. By 18, I was one of their best. That's not your fault, she said softly. You were a child. I'm not a child anymore. No, but you're also not defined by what they made you. You can still choose to be someone different. Can I? I gestured around the cabin. Look at this situation. Look at what I'm doing. I'm holding you prisoner, planning to execute you. That's who I am, Thea. That's all I've ever been. I don't believe that. You should. Why? She turned off the stove, moved closer to me, not afraid, despite everything. Why should I believe you're a monster when everything you've done since capturing me suggests otherwise? I haven't killed you yet. That doesn't make me a good person. But you haven't killed me, even though you easily could have, multiple times. She was standing right in front of me now, too close. Why? Because you remind me that I used to be human. Because when I look at you, I remember what it feels like to want something other than freedom. Because in 48 hours, I'm going to have to destroy the only person who's seen me as something other than a weapon in 2 decades. Because I have 36 hours left, I said instead, there's no rush. Liar. The word hung between us. You're afraid, she continued. Not of me. Not of your employers. You're afraid of making the choice. Afraid that if you let me live, you'll stay trapped forever. And afraid that if you kill me, you'll prove you're exactly what they made you. She was right. God help me, she was completely right. Get away from me, I said roughly. No. Thea. I won't make this easy for you, Kai. Her voice was steady, strong. You're going to have to look me in the eye. You're going to have to see me as a person. And then, you're going to have to decide if your freedom is worth my life. Stop talking. Why? Because it makes it harder? Good, it should be hard. Taking someone's life should be the hardest thing you ever do. I turned away from her, gripped the edge of the counter hard enough that my knuckles went white. You want to know why I really brought you here? I asked, voice low. It's not to keep you safe. It's not to buy time. It's because I'm trying to convince myself that killing you is justified, that you're a threat, that you deserve this. And, her voice came from right behind me, have you convinced yourself? I looked back at her, at those green eyes, at the freckles across her nose, at the stubborn set of her jaw and the intelligence in her gaze and the humanity she refused to let me ignore. No, I admitted. I haven't. Something shifted in her expression. Hope, maybe, or recognition. Then you already know what you have to do, she said quietly. It's not that simple. It is, though. You just don't want it to be. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed again. I pulled it out, expecting another text from Declan. Instead, it was a number I didn't recognize. Unknown. We know where you are. My blood went cold. Unknown. Petrov sends his regards. Coming for the girl. You have 1 hour. Fuck. I was moving before I finished the word. Get your shoes on. Now. What's wrong? We've been compromised. The Petrovs found us. We need to move. Her face went pale. How did they? Later. Move! She ran for the bedroom. I was already pulling weapons from hidden compartments in the cabin. Spare gun, extra ammunition, knife. This safe house was burned, which meant Declan's network had been penetrated, which meant nowhere was safe anymore. I had 36 hours left on my deadline, and now both the Irish mob and the Russian Bratva were coming for us. Perfect. Thea emerged, shoes on, grabbing her jacket. Where are we going? She asked. Anywhere but here. I unlocked the door, checked outside, clear for now. Stay close to me, I ordered. Do exactly what I say, when I say it. No questions, no hesitation. Understood? She nodded. Trust in her eyes that I didn't deserve. Then let's go. We ran for the car. Behind us, I could already hear the sound of engines approaching through the trees. The hunt had just begun. Chapter 4. The First Truth. POV. Kai. 24 hours until the deadline. The numbers burned in my mind like a countdown to execution. Except I couldn't tell anymore whose execution it would be. Mine, Thea's, or both of ours. We'd been driving for 6 hours. Switched cars twice. Once at a chop shop in Lynn run by a contact who owed me a favor. Again at a parking garage in Worcester, where I hot-wired a Honda Civic that looked like every other Honda Civic on the road. Anonymous. Forgettable. The Petrovs had found the cabin within hours of us arriving, which meant either they'd been tracking me the whole time or someone in the Sullivan Syndicate had leaked our location. Neither option was good. Now we were in a motel 40 miles outside of Springfield. Different from the last one. This place actually had standards. Clean sheets, working locks, a parking lot that wasn't half full of cars with expired registrations. Still temporary, still dangerous, still living on borrowed time. Thea sat on one of the 2 beds, knees pulled up to her chest, staring at nothing. She'd been quiet since we escaped the cabin. Too quiet. Shock, probably. The adrenaline crash after running for your life. I'd seen it before in civilians. The way reality hit them hours after the immediate danger passed. The shaking hands, the blank stares, the delayed processing of trauma. You should eat something, I said. She didn't respond. I'd grabbed fast food during one of the car switches. Burgers and fries going cold in their paper bags on the dresser. The smell of grease and salt filled the small room. Thea. Still nothing. I moved to sit on the other bed, facing her, close enough to talk, far enough to give her space. I know you're scared, I said quietly, but you need to eat. Keep your strength up. Why? Her voice was hollow. So I can have energy when you finally decide to kill me? The words hit harder than they should have. That's not. Isn't it? She looked at me then, and her eyes were red-rimmed. Not from crying. Thea Morgan didn't strike me as someone who cried easily. From exhaustion. From stress. From the weight of knowing she was living on borrowed time. You said 48 hours. We're down to, 24 now? Less? 23 hours and 47 minutes to be precise. But I didn't say that. The situation has changed, I said instead. How? The Petrovs weren't supposed to find us. Someone talked, which means the power dynamics have shifted. I don't care about power dynamics, her voice cracked. I care about staying alive. Then trust me. Trust you? She let out a laugh that sounded like broken glass. You were sent to kill me. You've been ordered to end my life. Why would I trust you? Because I haven't killed you yet. Yet. That's the key word, isn't it? She wasn't wrong. The clock was still ticking. The deadline was still approaching. And I still hadn't decided what I was going to do when it arrived. My phone buzzed. I pulled it out, expecting another threatening text from the Petrovs. Instead, it was Declan. Declan, where are you? I stared at the message. If I responded, he'd trace the signal. If I didn't respond, he'd know something was wrong. Either way, I was running out of options. I typed back carefully. Kai, Petrovs compromised the safe house. Had to relocate. Declan, where? Kai, secure location. Will report when job is complete. Declan, that's not what I asked. The phone rang before I could respond. Declan calling. I looked at Thea. She was watching me with those analytical eyes, reading every micro-expression on my face. Your boss? She asked. I nodded. Are you going to answer? I should. Following orders was what I did, what I'd always done. But for the first time in 19 years, I let the call go to voicemail. Thea's eyes widened. You just... I know what I did. Won't that make things worse? Things are already worse. The phone buzzed again. Text message. Declan, you have until midnight tomorrow. After that, the deal is off. And if you've gone rogue, nephew, there won't be anywhere in this world you can hide from me. I pocketed the phone. What did he say? Thea asked. That I'm running out of time. We both are. She was right. Again. I stood, moved to the window. Checked the parking lot through a gap in the curtains. No suspicious vehicles. No one watching. Clear for now. But that could change in seconds. I need to tell you something, I said, not turning around. What? The truth about why I brought you to the cabin instead of just completing the job immediately. Silence behind me. Then, I'm listening. I took a breath, let it out slowly. 3 months ago, I asked Declan for permission to leave the syndicate, to walk away, live a normal life. The words felt strange in my mouth, like a language I'd forgotten how to speak. He said he'd think about it. I thought he'd say no. They usually do. But he didn't? He said yes, on one condition. I turned to face her. This job, your life in exchange for my freedom. Thea went very still. So killing me is your ticket out? Yes. And if you don't do it, I stay in the syndicate, forever, until someone decides I'm more useful dead than alive. She processed this. I could see her analytical mind working through the implications. That's why you've been hesitating, she said slowly. Not because you're weak. Not because you don't want your freedom. But because you're trying to decide if you can live with yourself afterward. I've killed before, I reminded her, many times. But never someone innocent. You said that yourself. I had said that. In the motel room where I'd first captured her. Felt like a lifetime ago. I thought it would be easier, I admitted. I thought I could treat you like any other target, follow orders, complete the mission, collect my reward. I moved back to sit on the bed across from her. But you won't let me. I won't let you what? See you as a target. You keep talking, asking questions, being human. My hands clenched into fists. You're making this impossible. Good. It's not good, Thea. It's... I stopped. Tried again. There's a saying in my world. The only way out is through. It means you can't avoid the hard choices. You have to make them and live with the consequences. And what choice are you making? I don't know yet. She leaned forward, elbows on her knees. Let me make it easier for you. I have a flash drive. All my research on Petrov Industries. Everything I found about their money laundering operation. Names, dates, transactions, enough to bring down their entire empire. I know, I told you that in the motel. What you don't know is that I backed it up, cloud storage, encrypted, but accessible if you know where to look. Her eyes met mine. I set up a dead man's switch. If I don't check in every 72 hours, the files automatically get sent to the FBI, the IRS, and every major news outlet in the country. My stomach dropped. You're bluffing. Am I? She tilted her head. I'm a forensic accountant, Kai. Information security is part of my skill set. You think I'd investigate a criminal organization without setting up insurance? When was your last check-in? 71 hours ago. Fuck. You're saying if I kill you, you destroy the Petrovs anyway. And probably the Sullivans too. I found connections between the two organizations while going through the files. Shared operations. Joint ventures. If the Petrovs go down, your people are going with them. I stood, paced the small room, my mind racing through scenarios, calculating outcomes. If she was telling the truth, and the way she said it, calm and matter-of-fact, suggested she was, then killing her accomplished nothing. The evidence would still surface. The authorities would still investigate. Both organizations would still fall. Unless. You can disable it, I said. The dead man's switch. I can. What do you want in exchange? My life, obviously. She stood too. But also yours. Mine? You want out of the mob. I want to stay alive. We both have the same enemy now, the Petrovs and the Sullivans, so we work together. You're proposing an alliance. I'm proposing we both survive this. I give you the evidence. You help me disappear. We both walk away. It was insane, reckless, a plan with 1,000 ways to fail. It was also the first option that didn't end with one or both of us dead. They'll hunt us both, I said, forever. There's no statute of limitations on betrayal in my world. Better to be hunted and alive than loyal and dead. You're assuming we can survive being hunted by two of the most powerful criminal organizations in Boston. I'm assuming you're good enough at your job to make it possible. I studied her, this woman who'd been an accountant 4 days ago, who should have been terrified into submission by now, who instead was negotiating with her would-be executioner like this was a business meeting. You're either very brave or very stupid, I said. I prefer to think of it as practical. She moved closer. Look, I don't want to die. You don't want to be a killer anymore. We can help each other. Or we can both go down fighting. Those are the options. There's a third option. What? I kill you. Take my freedom. Deal with the fallout when your evidence surfaces. You could do that, she agreed, but you won't. Why not? Because if you were going to kill me, you would have done it already. In the motel, in the cabin, in the car during any of those 6 hours we've been driving. She was standing right in front of me now, close enough that I could see gold flecks in her green eyes. You're not a monster, Kai, no matter what they trained you to be, and I'm betting my life on that. She was wrong. I was exactly what they'd made me, a weapon, a killer. Someone who'd done terrible things and would probably do terrible things again. But when I looked at her, at this stubborn, brilliant, terrifying woman who refused to accept her own death, I wanted to believe she was right. Wanted to believe I could be something else. Someone else. If we do this, I said slowly, there's no going back. You understand that? The moment I turn against my family, I'm a dead man walking, and anyone with me becomes a target too. I'm already a target. This is different. This is... I know what it is. Her hand came up, rested on my chest, right over my heart. I could feel my pulse hammering against her palm. I'm choosing it anyway. The touch burned. Not in a bad way. In a way that reminded me what it felt like to be human. To be seen as something other than a tool for violence. I should pull away. Should maintain distance. Should remember that sentiment got you killed in this life. Instead, I covered her hand with mine. 23 hours, I said quietly. That's all the time we have. Then we'd better not waste it. POV Thea. I was insane. That was the only explanation for what I'd just done, proposing an alliance with a mob enforcer, betting my life that he'd choose me over his freedom, touching him like we were partners instead of captor and captive. Completely insane. But the alternative was death, and I'd decided somewhere between the motel and the cabin and the desperate flight through the woods that I wasn't ready to die. Not for doing my job, not for being in the wrong place at the wrong time, not without fighting for every second of life I had left. Kai's hand was warm over mine. I could feel his heartbeat, faster than it should be for someone so controlled, proof that underneath all that ice, he was still human, still capable of feeling, still capable of choice. "The dead man's switch," he said. "Is it real?" I should lie, should let him believe the threat was genuine. But something about this moment, standing in a cheap motel room with a killer who hadn't killed me, demanded honesty. "No," I admitted. "I made it up." His eyes widened, just slightly, but enough that I saw the surprise. "You're bluffing." "I'm negotiating. There's a difference." "You lied to me. You were planning to kill me. I'd say we're even." I didn't move my hand, didn't break eye contact, but the rest is true. I do have the evidence. Cloud backup, physical flash drive, everything. And if something happens to me, there are people who know where to find it. What people? My friend from college. Works at the DOJ. I told her if I disappear, check my cloud storage. The password is in a sealed envelope in her desk drawer. Another lie, but a convincing one. So if you kill me, the information still surfaces. Just takes longer. Kai processed this. I could see him working through scenarios, calculating odds. "You're taking a huge risk," he said finally. "What if I decide to kill you anyway and deal with the consequences?" "Then you're not the person I think you are." "And who do you think I am?" "Someone who's tired," I said it softly. "Tired of killing. Tired of following orders. Tired of being a weapon instead of a person. Someone who wants out badly enough that he's willing to risk everything for it." His jaw tightened. "You don't know me. I know you've had multiple opportunities to kill me, and haven't. I know you made sure I had food and water. I know you answered my questions when you didn't have to. I know you're standing here right now having this conversation instead of putting a bullet in my head." My hand pressed harder against his chest. "I know enough. Knowing enough gets people killed in my world. We're not in your world anymore, we're in mine now, the world of evidence and leverage and strategic thinking. And in my world, we're allies, whether you admit it or not." He stared at me for a long moment. Then, incredibly, he laughed. Just a short, rough sound, but real. "You're terrifying," he said. "Thank you." That wasn't a compliment. I'm choosing to take it as one. His hand moved from covering mine to actually holding it. His fingers were calloused, scarred, hands that had done terrible things, but his grip was gentle. "If we do this," he said, "I need to know you understand the stakes. The Petrovs will hunt us. The Sullivans will hunt us. Every contact I have, every safe place I know, all of it is compromised the moment I go rogue. We'll be running for the rest of our lives." How is that different from what I've been doing for the past 3 days? Because now you'll have someone running with you instead of chasing you. The words hung between us. A promise, a partnership, a lifeline in the dark. "I can work with that," I said. He nodded slowly. "Then we need a plan. And we need it fast." He released my hand and moved to the table, pulling out the laptop he'd been working on earlier. I sat across from him, watching as he brought up files, maps, contact lists. "First priority," he said, "is getting you somewhere the Petrovs can't find you. Somewhere off the grid. I have a contact in Portland, Maine." "No." He looked up. "No? If we're doing this, we do it together. I'm not hiding while you fight this alone. Thea, you're not trained for. I'm trained to find money, to track paper trails, to build cases against criminals." I leaned forward. "You're good at the physical side, the fighting, the running, the survival. But I can hurt them in ways you can't. I can destroy their finances, expose their operations, turn their own systems against them. He considered this. You want to go on the offensive. I want to make sure that even if they kill us, they don't survive either. Mutually assured destruction. It's the only leverage we have. A slow smile spread across his face, the first real smile I'd seen from him. It transformed his features from austere to almost handsome. You really are terrifying, he said. So I've been told. We spent the next 2 hours building a plan. Kai knew the organizational structures, the key players, the weak points in security. I knew how to trace money, identify vulnerabilities in financial systems, exploit regulatory frameworks. Together we were dangerous. The Petrovs keep most of their liquid assets in offshore accounts, I explained, pulling up files on my own laptop. But they need to move money back into the U.S. for operations. That means they use shell companies, fake invoices, legitimate businesses as fronts. If we can identify the main conduits and tip off the IRS, we freeze their operating capital, Kai finished. They can't pay soldiers, can't maintain operations, can't function. Exactly. And the Sullivans? Harder. They're more diversified, less dependent on any single revenue stream. He pulled up a map of Boston with highlighted locations. But they have patterns, regular meetings, predictable movements. If we can anticipate where Declan will be, we can feed information to the FBI, get him arrested before he can retaliate. Or we kill him ourselves. I looked at Kai. He said it so casually, like discussing the weather. I thought you didn't want to be a killer anymore, I said quietly. His expression hardened. I don't want to kill innocents. Declan Sullivan is many things, but innocent isn't one of them. Still what? If you kill him, you become exactly what you're trying to escape. And if I don't, he kills us both. We stared at each other across the table. Two people with fundamentally different moral frameworks trying to find common ground. There has to be another way, I said. Welcome to my world, Thea. Sometimes there isn't. My phone buzzed. The prepaid one I'd bought days ago. I'd turned it back on to access my cloud files. Message from an unknown number. Unknown. Still alive, Miss Morgan? Impressive. Most people don't last this long. My blood went cold. Kai. He was around the table in seconds, reading over my shoulder. Another message came through. Unknown, but time's running out. TikTok. See you soon. Then a photo, grainy, taken from a distance, but unmistakable. This motel. Our room number, visible in the image. They found us, I whispered. Kai was already moving. Pack, now. We have 5 minutes before they get here. How do you know? Because that's how long it would take me. We moved in synchronized chaos, grabbing laptops, shoving belongings into bags, checking weapons. I watched Kai work with professional efficiency, muscle memory from years of training. How do they keep finding us? I asked. Your phone. Has to be. He held out his hand. Give it to me. I handed it over. He popped the battery, crushed it under his heel, threw the pieces in different directions. But we'll get you another one that's not compromised. A sound outside, car engines, multiple vehicles. Back exit, Kai said, now. He grabbed my hand and pulled me toward the bathroom, opened the window, small, but we could fit. You first, he ordered. I climbed through, dropped into the narrow alley behind the motel. Kai followed seconds later, landing in a crouch beside me. The sound of doors slamming, voices shouting in Russian. They were inside the room. Kai pulled me into a run. We made it 2 blocks before we heard the first gunshot. Not aimed at us. A signal. They knew we'd escaped. The hunt was on. We ran through back alleys, cut through yards, stayed away from street lights. Kai moved with the confidence of someone who'd done this 100 times. I struggled to keep up, my lungs burning, legs aching. He slowed. Let me catch my breath. We need a car, he said. Steal one? Unless you have a better idea. I didn't. We found one 10 minutes later. Older model sedan, easy locks. Kai had us inside and moving in under a minute. As we pulled onto the highway, heading toward, I didn't even know where, I looked at Kai. "You saved my life," I said, again. "We're partners now." "That's what partners do." Partners. The word felt strange, significant. 22 hours until his deadline. 22 hours to figure out how to survive what came next. "Where are we going?" I asked. Kai's hands tightened on the steering wheel. "To see someone who might be able to help us, if he doesn't kill me first." That's not reassuring. It's not meant to be. He pulled out his phone, made a call. "It's me," he said when someone answered. "I need a favor, a big one." Pause. "I know what I'm asking. I know what it means." Longer pause. "Yeah, I'm sure." He hung up, looked at me. "We're going to Chicago," he said. "Someone there owes me, might be willing to help, might not, but it's the only option we have." "Who?" "Someone from my past, someone who got out before I did." His jaw clenched. "Someone who's going to be very surprised to see me asking for help." The highway stretched ahead of us, dark and endless. Behind us, our enemies were gathering. Ahead, an uncertain future. But for the first time since this nightmare began, I wasn't facing it alone. 22 hours, I said quietly. Kai glanced at me. Something softened in his expression. 22 hours, he agreed. Then we drove into the night. Together. Chapter 5. The Deception. POV. Thea. Chicago looked different at 4 a.m. The skyline rose against the pre-dawn darkness like broken teeth, office buildings lit up in random patterns where cleaning crews worked or insomniacs couldn't sleep. We'd been driving for 8 hours straight, Kai white-knuckling the steering wheel while I fought to stay awake and keep watch. 16 hours until his deadline. The number haunted me, ticked down in my mind like a countdown to something inevitable and terrible. Where exactly are we going? I asked as Kai navigated through empty streets in a neighborhood that looked like it had seen better decades. Southside, Ukrainian village. He took a turn without signaling. Old habit. Never telegraph your moves. Guy I'm meeting runs a body shop. Legitimate business on the surface. Does other work on the side. What kind of other work? The kind that helps people disappear. We pulled up to a building that looked abandoned. Chain-link fence surrounding a lot full of gutted cars. Metal shop with rolling doors all closed. No lights visible inside. Looks closed, I observed. It is, to most people. Kai killed the engine. Stay in the car. Lock the doors. If anything goes wrong, if you hear gunshots, if I'm not back in 10 minutes, you drive away. Don't look back. I'm not leaving you. Thea. We're partners, remember? That's what you said. Partners don't abandon each other. His jaw clenched. This is different. Marcus is unpredictable. If he decides I'm a liability, then you'll need backup. You're not trained for this. I'm trained to think on my feet and analyze situations. That counts as backup. I unbuckled my seatbelt. Besides, if he's going to kill you, I'd rather see it coming than wait in the car wondering. Kai stared at me for a long moment. Then, incredibly, he almost smiled. You're the most stubborn person I've ever met. Thank you. Still not a compliment. Still taking it as one. We got out of the car together. Kai led me to a side door I hadn't noticed. Partially hidden behind a dumpster, painted the same rust brown as the building. He knocked 3 times. Pause. Twice more. Pause. Once. A code. The door opened 6 inches. A face appeared in the gap. Pale, mid-30s, suspicious eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. Kai Sullivan. The man's accent was Eastern European. Ukrainian, probably. Didn't expect to see you again. Thought you'd be dead by now. Not yet, Marcus. Give it time. The man's eyes shifted to me. Who's the girl? Someone who needs help, like I said on the phone. Marcus studied us both. Then, with visible reluctance, he opened the door wider. 5 minutes. That's all you get. We stepped inside. The interior of the shop was cleaner than the exterior suggested. Work bays with cars in various states of repair. Tools organized on pegboards. The smell of motor oil and metal. Marcus locked the door behind us, turned to face Kai with his arms crossed. He was shorter than Kai, built lean and wiry. But there was something dangerous in his eyes, the look of someone who'd survived things that would have broken most people. "So," Marcus said, "what kind of trouble are you bringing to my door?" "The bad kind," Kai admitted. "Petrov Bratva, Sullivan Syndicate, both hunting us." Marcus let out a low whistle. "You don't do anything halfway, do you?" "Never learned how." "And her?" Marcus nodded at me. "Witness," Kai said. "Wrong place, wrong time. Saw Ivan Volkov execute someone. Now she's marked for death. So why not just complete the job?" "That's what you do, right? Follow orders. Kill who you're told to kill." The words were harsh, brutal, but Kai didn't flinch. "Things changed," he said simply. "Things changed," Marcus laughed, sharp and bitter. "That's your explanation? Things changed?" "Yes." They stared at each other. I could feel tension crackling between them, history, resentment, something unresolved. "You remember what you told me 3 years ago?" Marcus asked quietly. "When I said I wanted out? When I came to you asking for help?" Kai's expression didn't change, but I saw his hands clench. "I remember. You said following orders was the only way to survive. You said emotion made you weak. You said," Marcus's voice dropped to something dangerous, "that anyone who ran was a coward who deserved what they got. I know what I said. And now here you are, running, asking me for the same help I asked you for." Marcus moved closer. "Tell me, Kai, does that make you a coward too?" The silence was deafening. I wanted to intervene, to defend Kai, to explain that he was trying to change, trying to be better. But something told me this was between them, a reckoning that had been building for years. "Yes," Kai said finally, "it does." Marcus blinked, clearly not the answer he expected. "It makes me a coward," Kai continued, "a hypocrite. Everything I accused you of being when you wanted to leave. I was wrong, and I'm sorry." The apology hung in the air. "You're sorry," Marcus repeated flatly. "Yes. 3 years too late, but sure, you're sorry." Marcus turned away. "Paced the length of the shop. You know what happened after you turned me down, after you told me there was no way out?" "You left anyway." "I left anyway. Ran to Chicago, changed my name, spent 2 years looking over my shoulder, waiting for someone to put a bullet in my back." He spun back to face Kai. "But I survived. Built a new life, found something resembling peace, and now you show up asking for help? I know it's a lot to ask." "It's everything to ask." Marcus's voice rose. "You think I want the Petrovs knowing where I am? The Sullivans? You're putting a target on my back just by being here? I wouldn't have come if I had another option." "Well, you don't have this option either. I can't help you, won't help you, whatever debt you think I owe you." "I don't think you owe me anything," Kai interrupted. "I'm not here to collect. I'm here to ask. As someone who made a terrible mistake 3 years ago and is trying to do better now." Marcus stared at him. The anger in his eyes warred with something else. Something that looked like the ghost of old friendship. "Why now?" he asked finally. "Why this girl? What makes her different from all the other jobs you've done?" Kai glanced at me, just a quick look, but I saw something in his expression that made my chest tighten. "Because she reminded me that I used to be human," he said quietly. "Because she looked at me and saw a person instead of a weapon. Because," he paused, "because I'm tired of being what they made me, and she gave me a reason to try being something else." My breath caught. Marcus noticed. His eyes narrowed as he looked between us. "Oh," he said. "Oh, this is even worse than I thought." "What?" I asked. "You fell for her." Marcus laughed, sharp and disbelieving. Kai Sullivan, the ice-cold enforcer who told me emotions were weakness, fell for his target. This is beautiful. Poetic even. Marcus? No, seriously, this is amazing. The universe has a sense of humor after all. Marcus was grinning now. Mean. Enjoying this. How long have you known her? 3 days? 4? That's not. And you're willing to throw away everything. Your freedom, your life, everything you've worked for. Because of what? Some misguided sense of protection? A savior complex? She's not a mission, Kai said, voice hard. And I'm not saving her. We're saving each other. I stepped forward before I could stop myself. He's right. This isn't about him protecting me. It's about us both choosing to survive. Together. As equals. Marcus turned his attention to me. Really looked at me for the first time. And you, he shook his head. You have any idea what you've gotten yourself into? The kind of life you're signing up for? Running, hiding, looking over my shoulder for the rest of my life. I met his gaze steadily. Yeah, I know. I've been doing it for days already. Days. Marcus laughed again. Try years. Try decades. You think this ends? You think one day you'll just be safe again? No, I said honestly, but I'd rather live running than die standing still. Something shifted in Marcus's expression, the anger fading, being replaced by something that looked almost like respect. Okay, he said. Kai tensed. Okay? Okay, I'll help. Against my better judgment, and probably to my own detriment. But I'll help. Why? Because 3 years ago, someone didn't help me when I needed it. And I survived anyway. Got to prove something. That getting out was possible. That there was life after the syndicate. Marcus moved to a workbench. Started pulling out papers. Because maybe if I help you, you'll help someone else down the line. Pay it forward. Break the cycle. Relief flooded through me. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. You don't know what I'm going to ask for in return. POV Kai. Marcus laid out documents on the workbench. Fake IDs, passports, social security cards, the tools of disappearing. I can give you new identities, he said. Quality work. Will stand up to most scrutiny, but you'll need to stay off the grid. No credit cards in your real names. No contact with anyone from your old lives. No mistakes. I picked up one of the passports, examined the craftsmanship. Excellent work, nearly indistinguishable from the real thing. How long? I asked. To make them? 6 hours. We don't have 6 hours, I checked my phone. We have 15 hours before my deadline. After that, Declan sends the full force of the syndicate after us. Then you'd better hope I work fast. Marcus pulled out a camera. I'll need photos, current ones. And I'll need you to decide on names. Thea and I exchanged glances. Any suggestions? She asked. Something common, I said. Something forgettable. You want to blend in, not stand out. Marcus snapped photos of us both. Thea looking uncertain in front of the white backdrop. Me looking like I'd done this before. Because I had. Just never for myself. Names, Marcus prompted. Emma, Thea said. Emma, Carter. John, I said. John Taylor. Marcus snorted. Could you be more generic? That's the point. Fair enough. He loaded the photos onto his computer. Started the process of creating our new identities. While I work on this, you two should figure out your next move. Where you're going. How you're planning to survive. I pulled out my laptop, opened the files I'd been compiling. We go on the offensive, I said. Hit them before they can hit us. Ambitious, Marcus observed. Also probably suicidal. Better than waiting for them to find us. I showed him what Thea and I had worked out. The plan to freeze Petrov assets. The information we could feed to federal investigators about Sullivan operations. Marcus whistled low. You're not just running. You're trying to burn down both organizations. Mutually assured destruction, Thea explained. Even if they kill us, we take them down with us. And you think that'll work? It has to, I said, because there's no other option. Marcus was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded. I might know someone who can help with the Petrov financial side. Used to work for them. Got out. Knows where all the bodies are buried, metaphorically and literally. Can you contact them? Maybe, if they're willing to talk. If they haven't already been killed for knowing too much. Marcus's fingers flew across the keyboard. But it'll cost you. How much? Not money. Information. He looked at me. I want to know everything about Declan's operation. Current structure, key players, weaknesses, everything you know. I hesitated. This was betrayal. Real betrayal. Not just running. Actively working against the family that raised me. Thea's hand found mine under the workbench. Squeezed once. A reminder. We're in this together. Okay, I said. I'll tell you everything. I spent the next hour downloading 19 years of knowledge. Names, locations, operations, security protocols. Everything I'd learned growing up in the Sullivan Syndicate. Everything that could be used to destroy them. Thea listened. Her analytical mind cataloging information, cross-referencing it with what she already knew about organized crime structures. The warehouse on 4th Street, she said at one point, that's where they store weapons? And drugs, and cash, everything in one location. That's a vulnerability. If someone tipped off the ATF, they'd raid it, seize everything, cripple operations for months. Marcus looked between us. You two are terrifying together. You know that, right? So we've been told, Thea said. My phone buzzed. Text from Declan. Declan, 14 hours, nephew. Clock's ticking. Status report. I stared at the message. Declan was getting impatient. Suspicious. If I didn't respond soon, he'd know something was wrong. I need to buy us more time, I said. How? Thea asked. An idea formed. Risky. Possibly stupid. But it might work. I stage her death, I said slowly. Make it look like I completed the job. Send proof to Declan. That gives us breathing room, while I figure out the rest. Stage my death how? Thea asked. I pulled up photos on my phone. Crime scene images from previous jobs. We create a scene, use the right lighting, the right angles, make it look real enough to convince them from a photo. They'll want a body eventually, Marcus pointed out. Eventually isn't now. I just need to buy us 12 hours, get past the deadline. After that, when they realize I faked it, we'll already be gone. Thea was quiet, thinking it through. Okay, she said finally. Let's do it. Marcus shook his head. You're both insane. Probably, I agreed. Can you help? He sighed. Yeah, I've got theatrical blood, makeup supplies, some props. We can make it work. We spent the next 2 hours setting up the scene. Marcus's shop became a makeshift studio. We found a spot with the right kind of concrete floor, the kind that looked like it could be anywhere. A basement. A warehouse. Somewhere plausible for an execution. Thea lay on the ground. We positioned her carefully, head turned, hair obscuring most of her face, one arm flung out. Marcus applied makeup, pale foundation to make her look dead, dark shadows under her eyes. Theatrical blood pooled around her head, matted in her hair. Breathe shallow, I instructed, and don't move when I take the photo. She nodded, closed her eyes. I raised my phone, framed the shot, made it look brutal. Final. The image of Thea Morgan, dead on a concrete floor. My finger hesitated over the camera button. This was the moment. The choice. I could send this photo and commit to the path we'd chosen. Burn every bridge. Become exactly what Declan had always warned against. A traitor. Or I could do the job for real, complete the mission, earn my freedom the way I was supposed to. Thea's eyes opened, just slightly, met mine. Trust. I took the photo. Okay, I said. You can get up now. She stood slowly. Marcus handed her towels to wipe off the fake blood. I looked at the image on my phone. It was good, convincing. The lighting was right. The staging was right. It looked real. It looked like I'd completed my final job. I opened my messages, typed to Declan. Kai, job complete, Proof attached. I attached the photo. My thumb hovered over the send button. You sure about this? Marcus asked. Once you send that, there's no taking it back. You'll be committed. I'm already committed, I said. I hit send. The message went through. Delivered. Read receipt appeared almost immediately. Then, nothing. We waited. 30 seconds. A minute. 2 minutes. My phone rang. Declan calling. I looked at Thea. At Marcus. At the fake crime scene we'd created. At the point of no return. I answered. It's done, I said before Declan could speak. I'm looking at the photo now. His voice was unreadable. That's her? Thea Morgan? Yes. And you're sure she's dead? I'm sure. Silence on the other end, long enough that I started to sweat. Good work, nephew, Declan said finally. Clean, professional, exactly what I expected from you. Relief flooded through me. He believed it. When can I come home? I asked, playing the part, the loyal soldier completing his final mission. Give it 24 hours. Let the heat die down. The Petrovs will want to verify, and it's better if you're not around for that. Understood. Then congratulations, Kai. As of midnight tonight, you're free. No more obligations. No more debts. You've earned it. The words should have felt like victory. Instead, they felt like ashes. Thank you, I said. One more thing. My stomach dropped. Yes? Dispose of the body properly. Don't want any evidence surfacing later. Already handled. That's my boy. Declan's voice carried something almost like pride. I'll see you in 24 hours. We'll make it official. Have a drink to celebrate your freedom. He hung up. I stood there holding the phone, staring at nothing. He bought it? Thea asked quietly. He bought it. So we have 24 hours before he expects you back. Before he realizes you're not coming. Less than that. The Petrovs will want to verify. When they can't find a body, they'll alert Declan. We have maybe 12 hours of clear time before all hell breaks loose. Marcus handed me the finished IDs. Perfect forgeries. Emma Carter and John Taylor. Our new identities. Where will you go? He asked. I looked at Thea. At this woman, who turned my world upside down in 4 days. Who'd made me question everything I'd ever known. Who'd given me a reason to choose something other than orders and obligation. West, I said. California, maybe. Somewhere far from both organizations. Somewhere we can start over. You'll need money, resources. I can. No, I shook my head. You've done enough, more than enough. We can't put you at more risk. Marcus studied me, then pulled out a burner phone. Call this number when you're settled. Let me know you made it. And if you need anything at all, you reach out. Understand? It was more than I deserved, more than I'd given him 3 years ago. Thank you, I said. Don't thank me, just survive. Prove that getting out is possible, that there's life after this. He glanced at Thea. Both of you. We gathered our things, the fake IDs, clean phones. What little we had left of our old lives packed into 2 small bags. As we headed for the door, Marcus called out. Kai. I turned. That girl. She's good for you. Don't fuck it up. I looked at Thea. At the woman who'd somehow become my partner, my ally, my reason for choosing a different path. I'll try not to, I said. We left the shop as the sun was starting to rise over Chicago. Emma Carter and John Taylor. 2 people who didn't exist 48 hours ago. 2 people trying to outrun their pasts and build something new. 12 hours, Thea said as we got in the car. That's all the head start we get. Then we'd better make them count. I started the engine. Pointed us west. Toward the highway. Toward freedom. Toward whatever came next. Thea reached across the console, found my hand, held it. We're really doing this, she said softly. We're really doing this. No going back now. No going back. Behind us, the life I'd known was ending. the obligations, the violence, the person I'd been made to be. Ahead, uncertainty, danger. Two powerful criminal organizations that would never stop hunting us. But also possibility. Choice, a chance to become something other than a weapon. As we merged onto the highway, heading west into the rising sun, I realized something. For the first time in 19 years, I wasn't following orders. I was following hope. Chapter 6, The Reckoning. POV, Kai. We made it 6 hours before everything fell apart. 6 hours of driving west on I-80, changing lanes randomly, watching mirrors for tails. 6 hours of Thea dozing in the passenger seat, while I white-knuckled the steering wheel and calculated odds of survival. 6 hours of pretending we might actually make it. Then my burner phone rang, the one only Marcus had the number for. I answered on the second ring. "What's wrong?" "They know." Marcus's voice was tight, urgent. "Petrov sent someone to verify the kill, found the shop, found the fake blood, found everything." My stomach dropped. "When?" 30 minutes ago. I barely got out. "They're looking for you, Kai, both organizations, and they know you're heading west." "How?" "Traffic cameras, probably, or they've got people at toll booths, I don't know. But they know." He paused. "You need to ditch the car, get off the highway. Go to ground." Thea was awake now, watching me with wide eyes. "Where are we?" I asked her. She checked her phone. "Just past Des Moines." "Okay. Thanks, Marcus. Get somewhere safe." "You too. And Kai?" He hesitated. "I'm sorry I couldn't buy you more time." "You bought us enough. The rest is on me." I hung up, looked at Thea. "They found the fake scene," I said. "They know I didn't kill you. They know we're running." She processed this. I could see her mind working through implications, calculating next moves. "So we're out of time," she said. "We're out of time." I took the next exit. Small town. Population maybe 5,000. The kind of place where strangers stood out, where people noticed unfamiliar cars. Perfect for hiding, terrible for running. I found a truck stop on the edge of town, big parking lot full of semis, anonymous. I pulled into a spot between two 18-wheelers. "We need a new vehicle," I said, "something they won't be looking for." "Steal another car?" "No time. They'll have alerts out on every stolen vehicle database." I scanned the lot. "We need to buy one. Cash, off the books." Thea pulled out her wallet. Counted what we had. $300. That's not going to buy us much. She was right. 300 wouldn't get us anything roadworthy. Unless. I spotted a beat-up pickup truck at the far end of the lot. Older model. Rust spots. But the engine was running. Driver inside finishing his coffee before hitting the road again. "Wait here," I said. I approached the truck, knocked on the driver's window. The guy who rolled it down was maybe 60, weathered face, flannel shirt, the look of someone who'd been hauling freight for 40 years. "Help you?" he asked. "Your truck for sale?" He blinked. "What?" "I need a vehicle, fast. I'll give you $5,000 cash for that truck right now. No questions, no paperwork." His eyes narrowed. "You in some kind of trouble, son?" I could lie. Spin a story about a broken-down car and a family emergency. Instead, I told him the truth, or part of it. "I'm trying to protect someone. People are after us. Bad people. We need to disappear. Your truck could save our lives." He studied me for a long moment, then looked past me to where Thea sat in the stolen Honda. "That the someone you're protecting?" "Yes." He was quiet, thinking. I could see him weighing options, deciding if he believed me. "I got a daughter about her age," he said finally. "If she was in trouble, real trouble, I'd hope someone would help her." He climbed out of the truck, pulled the keys from the ignition, held them out. "I can't take $5,000 from you," he said, "but I'll take your car in trade. Fair exchange." "That's not." "It's plenty. Now get going before I change my mind." I handed him the Honda keys, took the truck keys. "Thank you," I said, meant it. Don't thank me. Just keep that girl safe. I will. Thea was already grabbing our bags from the Honda. We transferred everything to the truck. Older F-150, manual transmission. Definitely seen better days. But it ran. And more importantly, it wasn't on anyone's radar. We pulled back onto the highway, now heading south instead of west, changing direction, changing patterns. That was kind of him, Thea said quietly. The truck driver. Yeah, you told him the truth. Part of it. She looked at me. Why? Because I'm tired of lying. I shifted gears. The truck's transmission ground slightly. Spent 19 years lying. To targets. To myself. About what I was doing and why. I'm done with it. Even if the truth is dangerous, especially then. We drove in silence for a while. I kept checking mirrors, watching for tails. Every set of headlights made my pulse spike. We need a plan, Thea said. We can't just keep running. I know. So what do we do? I'd been asking myself the same question for the past 6 hours. Running was temporary. Eventually, they'd find us. Eventually, we'd make a mistake. Eventually, the organizations we'd betrayed would catch up. Unless we made sure they couldn't. We finish what we started, I said. We burn them down. Both organizations. Completely. How? I pulled out my phone, opened the files I'd compiled. The federal investigators you were working with. The ones looking into Petrov Industries. You have their contact information? Somewhere in my cloud backup. Why? Because we're going to give them everything. Petrov financials, Sullivan operations, names, dates, locations, everything they need to bring both organizations down. They'll want us to testify, go on record. So we do it. Witness protection, new identities, real ones this time, backed by the federal government. Complete disappearance. Thea processed this. That could work. If they agree to protect us. If we can convince them the information is worth the risk. Stop, she interrupted. You're catastrophizing. Let's focus on what we can control. She pulled out her laptop, started accessing her cloud files. I've got contact information for Agent Rebecca Torres, FBI. She was the one coordinating with my firm on the Petrov audit. Call her? From a burner phone with no way to verify my identity, she'll think it's a prank. Then we email. Send her enough information to prove we're legitimate. Set up a meeting. Thea's fingers flew across the keyboard. Okay, I'm drafting a message. Attaching samples of the financial records. Enough to get her attention, but not enough to compromise our leverage. She worked while I drove, watching her in the peripheral vision, focused, analytical, in her element. This was what she was trained for. Building cases, compiling evidence, creating airtight arguments. Sent, she said after 20 minutes. Now we wait. How long? Could be hours, could be days. Depends on how fast she checks her email, how seriously she takes an anonymous tip. Her laptop pinged. New message from Agent Torres. Torres, who is this? How did you get this information? Thea looked at me. She's responding already. That's good, right? Or she's tracing the email. Could go either way. Thea typed back. Morgan, this is Thea Morgan. I filed a police report 4 days ago about witnessing a murder. Detective Brennan dismissed it. The murder was real. I have proof. And I have evidence of money laundering, racketeering, and organized crime operations for both the Petrov Bratva and the Sullivan Syndicate. I want to make a deal. We waited. 2 minutes. 3. Torres, if this is really Thea Morgan, you need to come in. Now, you're in extreme danger. Morgan, I know. That's why I need protection first. Witness protection. For me and one other person. In exchange, I give you everything needed to bring down both organizations. Torres, I can't authorize that over email. We need to meet. Face to face. Morgan, where? Torres, Chicago field office. I can be there in 4 hours. Can you? I shook my head. It's a trap. You don't know that. Chicago is where Marcus is, where we just were. Both organizations will have people there. They'll be watching the FBI office. So we pick somewhere else. Thea typed. Morgan, not Chicago. Somewhere public, neutral. Tomorrow morning, I'll contact you with location. Taurus. Miss Morgan, I understand you're scared, but the safest place for you is in federal custody. Let us protect you. Morgan. With all due respect, Agent Torres, the last law enforcement officer I talked to, didn't believe me. I need guarantees before I walk into another police station. Long pause. Then, Torres. Fair enough. Tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., you pick the location. But Ms. Morgan, if you're wasting my time, there will be consequences. Morgan. I'm not wasting your time. I promise. Thea closed the laptop, looked at me. We have until tomorrow morning to figure out where to meet her, she said. Somewhere with crowds, multiple exits, clear sightlines. A park? Too open, too many angles for a sniper. Coffee shop? Too enclosed, too easy to trap us inside. We brainstormed while I drove. Every option had vulnerabilities. Every location had risks. Finally, Thea said, "What about a museum?" Museum? Public, lots of people, security cameras, multiple exits, and it's neutral ground, not law enforcement territory, not mob territory, just civilians looking at art. I considered it. That could work. There's one in Kansas City, Nelson Atkins Museum. Big, multiple buildings, easy to get lost in if things go wrong. How far? She checked her phone. 3 hours. We could get there tonight. Find a place to stay. Scout the location before the meeting. It wasn't perfect, but nothing about this situation was perfect. Okay, I said. Kansas City. Tomorrow morning. POV Thea. We found a motel on the outskirts of Kansas City just after midnight. Different from the others. This one was actually nice. Chain hotel with a lobby and everything. Kai paid cash for 1 room. 2 beds. The clerk didn't ask questions. We carried our bags upstairs. I was so exhausted I could barely see straight. 4 days of running. 4 days of adrenaline and fear and constantly looking over my shoulder. 4 days that had fundamentally changed who I was. I collapsed onto one of the beds, fully clothed. Stared at the ceiling. You should shower, Kai said. Eat something. Take care of yourself. I'm too tired. Thea. I know I should. I closed my eyes. I just need a minute to process that we're still alive. The bed dipped as Kai sat beside me. Not touching, just present. We're still alive, he confirmed. For now. For now. I opened my eyes, looked at him. He was watching me with an expression I couldn't read. Do you regret it? I asked. Choosing this? Choosing me? He was quiet for a long moment. Then, no. Even though it's cost you everything? It hasn't cost me everything. It's given me something I didn't know I wanted. What? A choice. He reached out, brushed hair off my forehead. The gesture was so gentle it made my throat tight. For 19 years, I followed orders, did what I was told, became what they made me. I never questioned it because questioning meant death. And now? Now I'm choosing. For the first time in my life, I'm choosing who I want to be, what I want to fight for, who I want to... He stopped. Who you want to what? His gray eyes met mine, storm clouds and steel and something softer underneath. Who I want to protect, he finished. Who I want beside me, who I want to wake up next to when this is all over and we're still alive. My heart was hammering. Kai, I know this is complicated. I know we met under the worst possible circumstances. I know I was sent to kill you and nothing about this is normal or healthy or... I kissed him. Just reached up, pulled him down, and pressed my lips to his. He froze for half a second. Then he was kissing me back, fierce and desperate and real, his hand cupping my face, my fingers tangling in his hair. This wasn't like the almost kiss in the cabin. This was actual, inevitable. The culmination of 4 days of building tension and trust, and something I didn't have a name for yet. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, He rested his forehead against mine. That was overdue, I finished. I was going to say complicated. That too. He pulled back slightly, studied my face. Thea, I need you to understand something. What? I'm not good at this. Feelings, relationships, being human. His jaw clenched. I was trained to kill, not to whatever this is. Neither was I admitted. I mean, not the killing part, but the rest. I'm good at numbers and patterns and logic. Not at people. Not at emotions. Not at falling for someone who was supposed to murder you. Yeah, that. We stared at each other. Then, incredibly, we both started laughing, quiet, slightly hysterical. The kind of laughter that comes from exhaustion and stress and the sheer absurdity of the situation. This is insane, I said. Completely. We're going to die, aren't we? Probably. Then I guess we should make the most of whatever time we have. I kissed him again. Slower this time, less desperate, more deliberate. He responded in kind. His hands, those hands that had done terrible things, were gentle as they framed my face. Careful, like I was something precious that might break. Thea, he murmured against my lips, if we do this, I know the risks. I'm not talking about the mob. I'm talking about us. About what happens if. When, I corrected. When we survive this, not if. That almost smile. The one I was learning to recognize as genuine emotion breaking through his armor. When we survive this, he agreed. What then? Then we figure it out. Together, like we've been doing for the past 4 days. 4 days isn't a lot of time. It's enough to know what I want. I met his eyes. Is it enough for you? He kissed me instead of answering, but the kiss said everything words couldn't. Yes, it was enough. More than enough. We stayed like that for a long time. Kissing, holding each other, not going further, both of us too exhausted, too aware that tomorrow might be our last day. Eventually, Kai pulled away. You need to sleep. So do you. I'll keep watch. Kai. Someone needs to. And I'm used to going without sleep. I wanted to argue, wanted to tell him he didn't have to carry everything alone anymore. But exhaustion was pulling me under. My eyes were already closing. Just for a few hours, I mumbled. Then you sleep. Deal? Deal. I felt him move away. Heard him check the locks on the door, the windows. The same routine he'd done at every stop. Always protecting, always vigilant. Even when the person he was protecting was the one he'd been sent to kill. I drifted off to the sound of him moving around the room. To the knowledge that for the first time in 4 days I wasn't alone. We were in this together. Whatever came next. POV Kai. I watched Thea sleep. Not in a creepy way, just watching, making sure she was safe, making sure she was still breathing, making sure this was real. 4 days ago, I'd been given an assignment, kill Thea Morgan, earn my freedom. Now she was asleep in a motel room, trusting me to protect her. The person I was supposed to murder, the person I'd somehow fallen for instead. It didn't make sense. None of this made sense. But here we were anyway. My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. Unknown. We know where you are, Sullivan. Give us the girl, walk away alive. Otherwise you both die. You have until dawn to decide. I stared at the message. They'd found us again. Somehow, despite switching vehicles, despite changing direction, despite everything, they'd found us. Which meant tomorrow's meeting with Agent Torres was our only shot. If she came through with witness protection, we had a chance. If she didn't, we were dead. I looked at Thea. At the woman who'd turned my world upside down. Who'd made me question everything I'd ever known. Who'd given me a reason to choose something other than orders and obligation. I deleted the message, didn't respond. Let them come, let them find us, let them try. I'd protect her, no matter what it cost. Because for the first time in 19 years, I'd found something worth dying for, and I'd be damned if I let them take it away. Dawn was 4 hours away. 4 hours until the meeting. 4 hours until we found out if we'd survive this. I checked my weapons, made sure everything was loaded and ready. Then I settled in to wait, watching Thea sleep, watching the door, watching for the end of the world or the beginning of something new, whichever came first. Chapter 7, The Hunt. POV Thea. I woke to Kai's hand over my mouth. My eyes flew open. He was leaning over me, fully dressed, weapons visible on his belt. His expression was grim. "Don't scream," he whispered. "Don't make a sound. We need to leave. Now." He removed his hand. I sat up, heart already hammering. "What's wrong?" "They're here, in the parking lot. I saw them on the security feed from the lobby." He was already grabbing our bags. "We have maybe 2 minutes before they figure out which room we're in." I didn't waste time asking questions. Just shoved my feet into my shoes, grabbed my laptop, followed him to the door. Kai checked the hallway. Clear. We moved fast and silent toward the emergency exit at the end of the corridor. Behind us, I heard the elevator ding, voices speaking in Russian. "Stairs," Kai breathed. "Go." We descended 3 floors at a run. My lungs burned. My legs protested. I didn't care. Ground floor. Kai pushed open the exit door and stopped. 2 men in the alley, both armed, both turning toward us. Kai shoved me back. "Other way, now." We ran back up, 2nd floor. Kai tried that exit. Clear. We emerged into a side alley. The truck was parked around back. Too far, too exposed. We'd never make it. "This way." Kai pulled me toward the street, toward people, toward witnesses. Kansas City was waking up. Early morning commuters. Coffee shops opening. The anonymous safety of a city coming to life. We blended into the crowd on the sidewalk. Walked fast, but not too fast. Just 2 people heading to work. Behind us I heard shouting, Russian accents. Someone had found our room. "Don't look back," Kai said. "Keep walking." We made it 2 blocks before I saw them. Black SUV cruising the street, passenger scanning the sidewalk. Looking for us. Kai saw it too. "In here." He pulled me into a coffee shop. Morning rush, packed with people ordering lattes and breakfast sandwiches. We pushed toward the back. "Bathroom," Kai said. "Window?" I checked. Small window above the toilet, big enough to squeeze through. "Yeah." "You first." I climbed onto the toilet, pushed open the window. It led to another alley, this one empty except for dumpsters and recycling bins. I squeezed through, dropped to the pavement below. Kai followed seconds later. We were 2 alleys over from where we'd started. The SUV was still searching the main street. "We need to get to the museum," I said. "The meeting with Torres is 3 hours away. We need to survive the next 3 hours first." A sound behind us. Footsteps. We ran. Through alleys, across parking lots, using every bit of urban cover we could find. Kai moved with the efficiency of someone trained in evasion. I followed, trusting him to know the best routes. We emerged onto a busier street. More people, more traffic. "There," Kai pointed to a bus pulling up to a stop. "Get on." We boarded just as the doors were closing, paid in cash, moved to the back. Through the window, I saw the black SUV cruise past. Searching, the bus pulled away, headed south, away from our pursuers. For now. "How did they find us so fast?" I asked, keeping my voice low. "I don't know. We've been careful. No credit cards, no phones they can trace, no—" He stopped. "Your laptop. What about it?" "When you emailed Agent Torres. They could be monitoring FBI communications, could have traced the email back to its origin point." My stomach dropped. "You think they know about the meeting?" "I think we have to assume they do," So what do we do? Kai looked out the window, thinking, calculating. We go anyway, he said finally. It's our only shot. Torres might be our best chance at protection. But we need to be smart about it. Assume they'll be watching. Assume they'll try to intercept us. How do we counter that? By being unpredictable, by not doing what they expect. The bus made stops. People got on and off. We stayed seated, watching, waiting. At the 5th stop, Kai said, "Here, we get off here." We exited onto a street I didn't recognize. Residential area, quiet. Where are we? I asked. Kai checked a street sign. About 2 miles from the museum. We walk from here. Stay off main roads. Use residential streets where they won't expect us. We walked, fast but not running. Just 2 people out for a morning stroll. Except we kept checking over our shoulders, kept watching for black SUVs, kept waiting for the moment when our luck ran out. It held, barely. By the time we reached the Nelson Atkins Museum, it was 9:45 a.m., 15 minutes until the meeting. The museum was already open, early visitors wandering the galleries, school groups gathering for tours. The safe, civilized world of art and culture. So different from the world we'd been living in. We're early, I said. That's good, right? Or it gives them more time to set up. Kai scanned the entrance, the parking lot, looking for threats. You see anyone who looks out of place? I looked. Families. Tourists. Art students. A few business people on their lunch break early. No one obviously dangerous. But that didn't mean they weren't here. I don't know what to look for, I admitted. People who aren't looking at art. People watching doors instead of paintings. People with earpieces or concealed weapons. You can see concealed weapons? Usually. You learn the tells, the way fabric drapes wrong. The way people move differently when they're armed. We entered the museum. Kai paid admission for both of us. We got visitor badges, acted like tourists. Where should we meet her? I asked. Somewhere with multiple exits. Somewhere we can see approaching threats. Somewhere public but not too crowded. We wandered through galleries. Kai was constantly scanning, evaluating, planning. There. He nodded toward a large open gallery with modern sculptures. High ceilings. Clear sight lines. 3 exits. We can position ourselves so our backs aren't to any door. We waited in that gallery, pretending to admire the art while actually watching every person who entered. 9:55 a.m. 9:58 a.m. 10 a.m. A woman entered, mid-40s, professional attire, moving with purpose. She scanned the room until her eyes landed on us. FBI. Had to be. She approached, held up credentials. Thea Morgan? Agent Torres? That's me. She glanced at Kai. And you are? John Taylor, Kai said smoothly, using his fake name. I'm with her. Torres studied him. I could see her evaluating, trying to place him, wondering about his role in all this. Shall we sit? She gestured to a bench positioned against one wall. We sat. Torres positioned herself so she could watch the gallery entrance. Professional habit. Thank you for meeting us, I said. Thank you for reaching out. We've been looking for you since you disappeared 4 days ago. Torres pulled out a tablet. I've reviewed the materials you sent. They're extensive. And if they're authentic, they represent the most comprehensive evidence of organized crime operations we've seen in a decade. Money laundering, racketeering, murder for hire, connections between 2 of the most powerful criminal organizations in Boston. They're authentic, I said. I compiled most of it myself while auditing Petrov Industries. And the Sullivan Syndicate information? I glanced at Kai. He nodded slightly. I provided that, he said. Torres's eyes sharpened. How? I was part of the organization. For 19 years, I know their operations, their structure, their vulnerabilities. We're part of? I left. They don't take that well. Torres was processing this. I could see the wheels turning. So you're both fugitives from organized crime. both marked for death, and you're offering to testify in exchange for witness protection." "Yes," I said. "That's a big ask." "It's worth it. We can give you everything. Names, locations, operations, financial records. Enough to bring down both organizations completely." Torres was quiet for a moment. Then, "I need to make a call. Clear this with my superiors. Witness protection requires authorization I don't have." "How long?" Kai asked. "An hour, maybe 2. I'll need you both to come to the field office while I—" "No," Kai interrupted. "No field offices, no police stations, not until we have guarantees." "Mr. Taylor, I understand your concerns, but—" "Do you?" He leaned forward. "Do you understand that there are multiple teams hunting us right now? That we've survived 4 days by staying unpredictable? That the moment we walk into a federal building, we become a stationary target? Federal buildings have security. Security can be compromised. Officers can be bribed. There are leaks in every organization, Agent Torres. We're not risking our lives on the assumption that yours is clean." Torres studied him. "You sound like someone with experience." "I am." She sighed. "Okay, what do you suggest? Make your calls from here. Get authorization. We'll wait. In public, where there are witnesses and cameras and no easy way for them to take us out without causing a scene. That could take hours." "We'll wait." Torres looked at me. "Is this really how you want to do this?" "Yes," I said. "We trust you, but we don't trust the system yet, not until we have protection guaranteed in writing." She nodded slowly. "Fair enough, I'll make the calls, but you stay visible. You stay in this gallery, and if I come back with authorization, you come with me immediately. Deal?" "Deal," I said. Torres stood, walked to the far corner of the gallery where she could make calls privately but still keep us in sight. Kai and I sat on the bench, waiting. "You think she'll come through?" I asked quietly. "I think she wants to. Whether her superiors agree is another question. And if they don't, then we run, again, and keep running until we can't anymore." I reached for his hand, found it, held it. "I'm tired of running," I said. "Me too." A man entered the gallery, suit and tie, looking at his phone, normal tourist. Except Kai tensed. "What?" I whispered. "His jacket, left side, there's a bulge. Could be a phone. Wrong shape, wrong placement." The man wandered closer, looking at sculptures, not looking at us, but getting closer. Another person entered, woman this time, also well-dressed, also on her phone, also moving toward us. "Kai, I see them." Torres was still on her phone, back to us, not watching. The man and woman were 10 feet away now, still not looking directly at us, but converging. "We need to move," Kai said. "Torres. Now." He pulled me up. We started toward a different exit. The man looked up, made eye contact, smiled. Everything happened at once. The woman dropped her phone, reached into her purse. The man's hand went to his jacket. Kai yanked me behind a sculpture. "Run!" Gunshots. Screams, people scattering. Torres diving for cover, hand going to her weapon. Kai and I were already running, through galleries, past shocked visitors, security alarms wailing. Behind us, more gunshots, Torres returning fire. We burst through an emergency exit, alarms shrieking, emerged into the parking lot. Black SUV screeching toward us. "Other way!" Kai pulled me back inside, through the museum, looking for another exit. We found a loading dock, service entrance, delivery trucks parked outside. We ran for them, used them as cover. "There," I pointed, city bus at a stop half a block away. We sprinted, made it just as the doors were closing, collapsed into seats. The bus pulled away. Through the back window I saw men emerging from the museum, searching, finding nothing. We'd escaped. Again. Kai was breathing hard. So was I. "Torres," I said, "we just left her. She's FBI. She can take care of herself. But the meeting, the protection, everything is compromised. They knew we'd be there. Someone leaked. His jaw clenched. We can't trust the FBI anymore, not until we know who talked. So what do we do? He pulled out his phone, stared at it, then made a decision I could see cost him. We go to ground, he said. Really go to ground. No more meetings. No more deals. We disappear completely until we figure out who we can actually trust. Where? I know a place. Remote. Off the grid. No one knows about it, except me. Where? He met my eyes. Montana. My father had a cabin there, before he died, before I joined the syndicate. It's in his name, not mine. No one knows it exists. How do we get there? Very carefully. The bus carried us away from the museum, away from the FBI, away from our one shot at official protection, back into the shadows, back on the run. I leaned against Kai's shoulder, exhausted, terrified, but not alone. We're going to make it, I said, trying to believe it. His arm came around me, held me close. Yeah, he said, we are. Outside the window, Kansas City passed by. And somewhere behind us, both the mob and the FBI were hunting. But we were still alive. Still together. Still fighting. POV Kai. We ditched the bus after 6 blocks. Stole a car from a grocery store parking lot, older sedan, easy locks, forgettable. Drove north. Away from Kansas City. Away from the scene. Away from everything. I kept checking mirrors, kept watching for tails. Nothing. Yet. How long to Montana? Thea asked. 14 hours, if we drive straight through. Can we? We don't have a choice. My phone buzzed. Text from Torres. Torres, are you two okay? They opened fire in a federal museum. This is escalating. Call me. Let me help. I stared at the message. She sounded genuine, concerned, like someone who actually wanted to help. But someone had leaked our location. Someone had told the Petrovs exactly where we'd be. And I couldn't risk Thea's life on the assumption that Torres was clean. I powered off the phone, removed the battery, threw both pieces out the window. What are you doing? Thea asked. Eliminating traces. They can't track what doesn't exist. But Torres is either compromised or working with people who are. Either way, we're on our own. Thea was quiet, processing. Okay, she said finally. Then we do this ourselves. No FBI, no deals, just us. Just us, I agreed. We drove. Hours passed. States blurred together. Kansas became Nebraska, became Wyoming. Thea dozed in the passenger seat, woke, dozed again. I kept driving. Kept thinking about the cabin, about the last time I'd been there. I was 9 years old. My father had taken me for a weekend, just the two of us. Fishing, hiking, normal father-son things. Someday, he'd said, when you're older, this place will be yours. Somewhere to go when the world gets too heavy. Somewhere to remember who you really are. He died a year later. I'd never gone back. Didn't even know if the cabin still existed, if it had been sold, if it was livable. But it was the only option we had left. Tell me about it, Thea said. She was awake, watching me. About what? The cabin. Your father. Why, you've never gone back. I gripped the steering wheel tighter. There's not much to tell. Try anyway. So I did. Told her about the fishing trips, about learning to build fires and identify animal tracks, about my father teaching me that strength wasn't just about violence. It was about knowing when not to use it. He sounds like he was a good man, Thea said quietly. He was, until they killed him for it. For being good? For trying to get out. For thinking he could leave the syndicate and raise his kids somewhere normal. My voice went rough. They made me watch. Made sure I understood what happened to people who tried to leave. Then they raised me to never make the same mistake. Thea's hand found mine. Squeezed. "You're not making a mistake," she said. "You're making a choice. There's a difference." Is there? Because right now it feels like I'm repeating history. Running with someone I stopped. Someone you what? I looked at her. At this woman who'd become everything in the span of 4 days. Someone I care about, I finished. Someone I don't want to lose the way my father lost everything. You won't. You can't promise that. No, but I can promise. I'll fight like hell to make sure we both survive this. I pulled her hand to my lips, kissed her knuckles. When we get to the cabin, I said, we stop running, we plan, we figure out how to actually end this instead of just surviving it. How? We use the information we have. We find a way to release it publicly, not through the FBI, they're compromised, but through media, through leaks, through making it so public that both organizations can't survive the exposure. That's risky. Everything about this is risky. But it's the only way we stop being hunted. We make them too busy dealing with federal investigations and public scrutiny to chase us. Thea nodded slowly. Okay. We do it. Together. Together. We drove through the night, crossing state lines, putting distance between us and everyone hunting us. By dawn, we were in Montana. Rolling hills, open sky, the kind of emptiness that felt like freedom. The cabin was exactly where I remembered, deep in the woods, accessible only by a dirt road that barely qualified as passable. It was smaller than my memory, more rustic, but intact. We parked the stolen car behind the cabin where it couldn't be seen from the road. Approached cautiously. I had my gun drawn, checking for signs of occupancy. Empty, dusty, abandoned, but structurally sound. Home sweet home, Thea said. I unlocked the door with a key I'd kept for 20 years without knowing why. Inside smelled like old wood and memories. We're safe here? Thea asked. For now, no one knows about this place. It's not in any database, not connected to me in any official way. How long can we stay? As long as we need to. We brought our bags inside. I checked the utilities. Generators still worked. Well, water still ran. It would do. Thea collapsed onto the old couch, exhaustion finally catching up. We made it, she said. We made it. Now what? Now we figured out how to win a war against 2 criminal organizations, with nothing but evidence and determination. Now we found a way to expose them without getting killed in the process. Now we learned if love was enough to survive in a world built on violence. Now we rest, I said, and tomorrow we start fighting back. I sat beside her. She leaned against me, both of us too tired to move. Outside, dawn was breaking over Montana. Inside, 2 fugitives held each other and tried to believe they had a future. Chapter 8. The Choice. POV. Kai. We had 3 days of peace. 3 days where no one found us. No black SUVs appeared on the dirt road. No gunshots shattered the silence of the Montana woods. 3 days that felt like a lifetime and no time at all. Thea and I fell into a rhythm. Mornings spent planning, going through files, identifying key evidence, building a strategy to expose both organizations. Afternoons repairing the cabin, making it livable. Evenings by the fireplace, talking about everything except the danger we were in. It was almost normal. Almost like we were just 2 people falling in love in a cabin in the woods. Except we weren't normal, and the danger was always there, lurking at the edges of our temporary sanctuary. On the 4th day, everything changed. I woke to the sound of vehicles on the dirt road. Multiple engines, moving fast, headed straight for us. Thea, I shook her awake. We have company. She was alert instantly. 4 days of running had trained her to sleep light. How many? I moved to the window, counted. 3 vehicles, maybe 12 people total, both organizations by the look of it. How did they find us? I don't know, but I had a sinking feeling I knew exactly how. The stolen car. We'd kept it hidden, but someone could have run the plates. Could have traced it back to Kansas City. Could have started searching rural areas where fugitives might hide. Or there was a simpler explanation. Someone had betrayed us. "We need to leave," Thea said, already grabbing bags. "There's no time. They're blocking the road. We're trapped." The vehicles stopped 50 yards from the cabin. Doors opened. Armed men emerged. I recognized faces. Ivan Volkov leading the Petrov contingent. And from the Sullivan side, my uncle, Declan himself. This wasn't just a recovery operation. This was personal. "Back room," I told Thea. "There's a crawl space under the floor. You can get under the cabin, into the woods. I'm not leaving you." "Thea, we're partners, remember? We survived together or not at all." I wanted to argue, wanted to force her to run, to save herself. But there wasn't time. A voice called out from outside, Declan's, amplified by a bullhorn. "Kai, I know you're in there. Come out, we can talk about this." I moved to the door, opened it enough to shout back, "Nothing to talk about. You made your position clear." "Did I? Because from where I stand, you're the one who chose betrayal over family. You're the one who faked a kill and ran. You gave me an impossible choice. I gave you freedom. All you had to do was follow one order, one final job. But you couldn't even do that." Declan stepped forward, unarmed, hands visible, the picture of reasonableness. But I knew him, knew the monster hiding behind the civilized facade. "She got to you," he continued. "This woman, this stranger, convinced you to throw away 19 years of loyalty for what? Love?" He spat the word like it was poison. "For choice," I called back. "Something you never gave me. I gave you everything, raised you when your father died, trained you, made you strong, made you valuable. You made me a weapon. There's a difference." Ivan Volkov stepped forward next. "Enough talking. Give us the girl. You can walk away. We have no interest in you, Sullivan. Only her." "She dies, I die," I said. "That's the deal." "Then you both die." Ivan's hand moved to his weapon. "Makes no difference to us." Declan held up a hand. "Wait, Ivan, give me a moment with my nephew, alone." Ivan didn't look happy, but he stepped back. Declan approached the cabin, slowly, hands still visible. "Just you and me, Kai, like old times. Let's talk this through." Every instinct screamed trap. But I also knew Declan. He liked to think of himself as reasonable, as someone who gave people chances. Right before he killed them, I stepped out onto the porch, kept my hand on my weapon. Declan stopped 10 feet away, studied me with those cold blue eyes. "You look different," he said. "Not just tired, different, like you actually found something worth fighting for." I did. "The girl. Her name is Thea. I don't care what her name is. I care that she's turned my best enforcer into a liability." He took a step closer. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to give her to us. We'll make it quick. I give you my word. Painless. And then you and I are going to have a long conversation about the consequences of betrayal." "No. No? I'm not giving her up. I'm not going back. And if you want to kill me, you'll have to do it knowing I went down fighting for something real, instead of dying empty following your orders." Declan's expression hardened. "You sound like your father. He said something similar right before we put 3 bullets in his chest." White-hot rage flooded through me. "You killed him. Not the organization, not the family. You." "Of course I did. He was weak, sentimental. Thought he could leave and take his son with him. I couldn't allow that. Just like I can't allow this." "Why? Why does it matter if I leave? You have dozens of soldiers." "Why me?" "Because you're the best. Because I raised you to be perfect. And because I'll be damned if I let some woman steal what's mine." The truth, finally. Not about the organization. Not about loyalty. About possession. About control. About Declan's ego. "I was never yours," I said quietly. "You just convinced me I was." Declan's mask slipped. For just a second, I saw pure hatred in his eyes. "Last chance, nephew. Give me the girl. Come home. We'll call this a temporary lapse in judgment. You'll be punished, but you'll live." "And Thea?" "Dies, obviously." "Then no deal. So be it. Declan turned back toward his men, called out, "He's chosen. Take them both. I want Sullivan alive. I'm going to make an example of him. The girl dies here." The men raised weapons. 12 guns pointed at the cabin. At us. This was it. The end we'd been running toward for days. I moved back inside, found Thea standing in the center of the room, calm, ready. "Well?" she asked. "They want you dead and me punished. Standard operating procedure." "What do we do?" I looked around the cabin. At the place where my father had tried to teach me there was more to life than violence. At the sanctuary we'd found for 3 brief days. At Thea, the woman who'd reminded me I was human. "We fight," I said. "One last time, together." She nodded, no fear in her eyes, just determination. Together. I grabbed my rifle from behind the door. Thea took the handgun I'd taught her to use over the past 3 days. We positioned ourselves at windows, covering different angles. "They'll try to flush us out with fire," I said, "or rush the building. Either way, we don't have much time." "How many can you take down?" "Depends how good their training is. Maybe 4 or 5 before they get smart and stay behind cover. And then? Then we're outnumbered and outgunned. Then we hope for a miracle." Outside, Declan was giving orders, men fanning out, surrounding the cabin. One of them had a gas can, planning to burn us out. Classic mob tactic. "Kai," Thea said, "if this goes bad, it's already bad. If we don't make it, we will. But if we don't," she pressed on, "I want you to know that these 4 days were worth it. Meeting you, running with you, falling for you, all of it. I'd choose it again." My throat tightened. "Thea, I love you," she said simply. "I know it's crazy. I know it's too soon. But I do, and I needed you to know that." The words hit me harder than any bullet could. "I love you too," I said, meaning it, feeling it in every cell of my body. "And we're going to survive this. We're going to get old together. Going to have a real life. I promise." "Don't make promises you can't keep." "Then I'll keep this one." Movement outside. The man with the gas can approaching the cabin. I aimed. Fired. He went down. All hell broke loose. Return fire shattered windows. Bullets punched through walls. Wood splintered around us. I fired back. Methodically. Professionally. Years of training taking over. 1 down. 2. 3. Thea was firing too. Not as accurate, but determined. Keeping them pinned. But there were too many, and they were getting smarter, staying behind cover, advancing slowly. The back wall of the cabin exploded inward. Breaching charge. 2 men rushed through the opening. I shot the first. Thea got the second. But more were coming. "We need to move!" I grabbed Thea's hand, pulled her toward the crawl space I'd mentioned earlier. We dropped through the floor just as another explosion tore through the front of the cabin. The crawl space was dark, barely 3 feet high. We crawled on our bellies toward the opening that led to the woods. Behind us, men entering the cabin, searching, shouting when they realized we'd escaped. We emerged into the forest, ran. Gunfire erupted behind us, bullets snapping through tree branches. I pulled Thea behind a fallen log, returned fire, buying us seconds. We ran again. My mind was racing, calculating. We couldn't outrun them, couldn't fight them all. We needed an advantage. The generator shed, 50 yards east, if I could get to it. This way. I changed direction. Thea followed. We reached the shed. I yanked open the door, found what I was looking for. Propane tanks, 3 of them. Full. "Get behind that boulder," I told Thea. "Cover your ears." "What are you?" "Trust me. Go!" She ran. I shot the propane tanks. Once. Twice. On the 3rd shot, they exploded. The blast was enormous. Fireball rising into the sky, the shockwave knocking me backward. Men screaming. Burning. Chaos. I ran to Thea. "Now! While they're disorganized!" We sprinted deeper into the woods, away from the cabin, away from our pursuers. Behind us, shouting, confusion, but fewer voices than before. We'd thinned their numbers, but they were still coming. We ran for what felt like hours, but was probably 20 minutes. My lungs burned. Thea was gasping beside me. We couldn't keep this pace. There. I spotted an outcropping of rocks. Natural defensive position. We make our stand here. We climbed into the rocks, positioned ourselves with our backs protected. Clear sight lines on the approaches. I checked my ammunition. 5 rounds left in the rifle, 8 in my handgun. Not enough. Thea had 4 rounds left. Definitely not enough. Kai, she said quietly, we're not making it out of this, are we? I wanted to lie, to reassure her, to promise everything would be okay. But she deserved the truth. No, I said, probably not. She nodded, accepted it. Then let's make it count. I took her hand, squeezed it. I'm sorry, I said. I'm sorry I couldn't give you the life you deserved, the safety, the future. You gave me a choice, she said. You gave me agency. You gave me love. That's more than most people get in a lifetime. Footsteps in the forest. Getting closer. I raised my rifle, took aim. Thea did the same with her handgun. This was it. Our last stand. The figures emerged from the trees. Not Declan's men. Not Petrov's soldiers. Federal agents, FBI, dozens of them, in tactical gear, moving in formation. And leading them. Agent Torres. FBI, drop your weapons, all of you. The remaining mob soldiers hesitated, looked at each other. Torres's team had them surrounded. I said drop them, now! One by one, weapons hit the ground. I stared in disbelief. Torres approached our position, hands up, non-threatening. Thea Morgan, Kai Sullivan, you can come out, you're safe now. How? I couldn't form words. That email you sent? The evidence. I spent the last 4 days building a case. Got warrants, got tactical teams. Got authorization to move on both organizations. She smiled grimly. You gave us everything we needed. We just needed time to make it official. The meeting at the museum was compromised. I know. We have the leak identified. Arrested 3 hours ago. Torres stepped closer. I'm sorry we couldn't protect you better, but we protected the evidence. And now we're here. More agents were emerging from the woods, cuffing the survivors, calling for medical. Declan was being led out in handcuffs. His face was twisted with rage when he saw me. This isn't over, he shouted. You hear me, Kai? This isn't. An agent shoved him forward, silenced him. Ivan Volkov was already cuffed, looking resigned. He knew what happened when the feds had this kind of evidence. Prison, for life, no escape. Torres reached our position, extended a hand. Come on, she said gently. It's really over. You're really safe. I looked at Thea. She looked at me. Both of us bloodied, exhausted, barely believing what was happening. Is this real? Thea whispered. I think so, I said. We climbed down from the rocks, emerged from our defensive position. The moment our feet hit solid ground, Thea collapsed against me, not from injury. From relief. From the weight of 4 days of running finally lifting. I held her, buried my face in her hair. We'd survived. Against all odds. Against 2 criminal organizations. Against everything. We'd survived. We need to get you both checked out, Torres said. Medical evaluation, debriefing, witness protection arrangements. Later, I said, just give us a minute. Torres nodded, stepped back, gave us space. I cupped Thea's face in my hands, looked at her. Really looked at her. We made it, she said, laughing through tears. We actually made it. We made it. What happens now? Now we get to choose, I said. Really choose. Not running, not hiding, just choosing how we want to live. Together? If you'll have me. Are you kidding? After everything we've been through, you're stuck with me. I kissed her. There, in the Montana woods. With federal agents as witnesses. With the remains of our enemies being led away in handcuffs. Kissed her like she was freedom and hope and every good thing I'd never thought I deserved. When we finally broke apart, Torres was smiling. You two are something else, she said. We know, Thea said. Come on, let's get you somewhere safe, somewhere warm. Somewhere you can actually rest without looking over your shoulders. We followed Torres through the woods, past the burning cabin, past the tactical team securing the scene, toward the vehicles that would take us away from this place, toward witness protection, new identities, new lives, toward actually surviving instead of just running. I took Thea's hand. She squeezed it. And for the first time in 19 years, I felt something I'd forgotten existed. Hope. POV. Thea. 6 months later, I stood on a beach in Oregon, watching the sunset. Emma Carter. That was my legal name now. Complete with documentation, credit history, even college transcripts. The FBI had been thorough. John Taylor was beside me, the man I knew as Kai. The man who'd been sent to kill me and chosen to save me instead. We'd testified, both of us, spent months in depositions and courtrooms, watching as our evidence brought down two of the most powerful criminal organizations in Boston. Declan Sullivan, life in prison, no parole. Ivan Volkov, same. Dozens of others arrested, operations shut down, money seized. The organizations still existed. Things like that didn't die easily, but they were crippled. Broken, no longer the threat they'd been. And Kai and I were free. Really free. We'd moved to this small coastal town in Oregon. Kai worked construction, manual labor that let him sleep at night. I'd started consulting for a small accounting firm. Nothing federal, nothing high profile. Just normal work, normal lives. Normal. It was strange, wonderful, sometimes overwhelming. But it was ours. What are you thinking about? Kai asked. His arm came around my waist. Everything. The trial, the running, how we got here. Regret any of it? Not a second. He kissed my temple. Good, because I was thinking. He pulled a box from his pocket, opened it. Inside was a ring, simple, elegant. Nothing like the gaudy piece his uncle had probably worn. I know we've only known each other for 6 months, he said. And most of that was running for our lives or testifying in federal court. But I also know I want to spend the rest of my life with you, however long that is. Wherever that takes us. My breath caught. Thea Morgan, or Emma Carter, or whoever you want to be, will you marry me? I looked at the ring. At him, at the life we'd built from ashes and desperation. Yes, I said. God, yes. He slipped the ring on my finger, kissed me as the sun set over the Pacific. We'd started as hunter and prey, captor and captive, enemies by circumstance. We'd become partners, allies, survivors. And now? Now we were just two people in love, building a life, making choices. Together. I love you, Kai said. I love you too. The waves crashed against the shore. The sun disappeared below the horizon. The world kept turning. And we stood there holding each other. Free. Finally, completely, gloriously free. Not because someone granted us permission, but because we'd fought for it, earned it, survived for it. Freedom wasn't given. It was chosen. And we'd chosen each other. Epilogue, Liberation. POV, Thea. 2 years later, the bookstore smelled like coffee and old paper and possibility. I stood behind the counter, ringing up a customer's purchase, a mystery novel and a collection of poetry, while keeping one eye on the window. Not because I was watching for threats anymore, just because I liked watching the street, watching people live their normal lives in this small Oregon coastal town we now called home. The bell above the door chimed. Kai walked in, carpenter's tool belt still around his waist, sawdust in his hair. He'd been working on a renovation project for the elementary school. Said it felt good to build things instead of destroy them. I understood that sentiment completely. "Hey," he said, leaning across the counter to kiss me. "How's business?" "Steady. Sold 12 books today." Old Mrs. Patterson bought 3 romance novels and tried to set me up with her grandson again. Kai laughed. "Did you tell her you're married?" I showed her the ring. She said her grandson is very handsome and you'd understand. I like Mrs. Patterson. Everyone likes Mrs. Patterson. The customer left with her books. The store was empty now, just us and the shelves full of stories, other people's adventures, other people's escapes. We'd had enough of both to last a lifetime. Kai walked around the counter, pulled me into his arms, kissed me properly this time. Slow and thorough and full of the kind of contentment that came from actually being safe. "I have news," he said when we finally broke apart. "Good news or bad news?" "Good," Marcus called. I tensed slightly. Old habits. Marcus was the only connection we maintained to our previous lives. He called every few months, checking in, making sure we were okay, making sure we were still alive. What did he say? The last of the Sullivan operations just folded. Federal prosecutors seized the remaining assets yesterday. It's completely over. The organization is done. Relief washed through me. We'd known it was coming. The trials had been devastating to both the Sullivan Syndicate and the Petrov Bratva. But there had always been a fear that someone would rebuild, that someone would come looking for revenge. Not anymore. "So we're really safe," I said. "Really, truly safe. Really, truly safe." I let that sink in. 2 years of looking over our shoulders. 2 years of startling at loud noises. 2 years of low-level anxiety that maybe, just maybe, someone would find us. Now it was over. All of it. "How do you feel?" I asked. Kai considered the question. Free. Actually free this time. Not just running or hiding or waiting for the other shoe to drop. Free to just live. Good answer. "I learned from the best." He kissed my forehead. "You done for the day? I thought we could take a walk on the beach, watch the sunset." Romantic. I try. I locked up the bookstore. We walked hand in hand down Main Street, past the coffee shop where we'd become regulars, past the hardware store where Kai bought his supplies, past the little park where we sometimes had picnics. Our town, our life, our choice. The beach was quiet. Late afternoon sun painting everything gold. A few other couples walking, some kids building sandcastles. Normal, beautiful, peaceful. We found our favorite spot, a stretch of sand near the rocks where we could watch the waves and the sunset in relative privacy. "You know what day it is?" Kai asked as we sat. I thought about it, counted backward. "Oh. 2 years ago today I walked into your motel room with orders to kill you. Worst first date ever." He laughed. "Could have gone better. Could have gone worse too. You could have actually followed through." "Never would have." He took my hand. "Even then, when I barely knew you, something in me knew I couldn't. That killing you would mean killing the part of myself I didn't even know still existed. The human part." "Yeah." I leaned against his shoulder. Watched the waves crash and retreat, the eternal rhythm of the ocean. I was so scared, I admitted. That night, and every night after, scared of dying. Scared of losing you. Scared that we'd never actually escape. But we did. But we did. I turned to look at him. "You know what I'm not scared of anymore?" "What?" "The future. For the first time since my parents died, I'm not afraid of what comes next. I'm excited about it. I want to see what happens. Want to build a life that's ours." Kai pulled something from his pocket, a folded piece of paper, worn, like he'd been carrying it for a while. "I want to show you something," he said. He unfolded it. Inside were architectural drawings, plans for a house. "I've been working on this at night," he explained, "after you go to sleep. It's a design for us, for our future, if you want it." I studied the drawings. A small house, 2 bedrooms, office space where I could do my accounting work, workshop where Kai could build furniture, large windows facing the ocean. A home. "It's beautiful," I whispered. "There's land for sale about a mile from here, right on the cliff, ocean views, quiet, private. I've been saving. Thought maybe we could build it ourselves, take our time, do it right." Tears pricked my eyes. "You want to build us a house?" "I want to build us a life. A real one, with foundations that go deep, with a future that's ours to choose." I kissed him, tasting salt air and sawdust and hope. "Yes," I said. "Let's build it. Let's build everything." We sat on the beach as the sun set, making plans, dreaming dreams, talking about the house we'd build and the life we'd live, and all the ordinary, extraordinary things that came with actually surviving. "Can I ask you something?" Kai said as the sky turned orange and pink. "Anything. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if I'd made a different choice that night, if I'd followed orders?" "Sometimes. But then I remember that you didn't. You chose differently. You chose me. You chose us. Best choice I ever made. Second best, I corrected. Best choice you ever made was deciding to leave the syndicate in the first place. Asking for your freedom. That's what started everything." "No," he said. "That was me trying to escape what I was. Us. This is me becoming who I actually am." The distinction mattered. I understood that now. Freedom wasn't just about escaping something. It was about running towards something better, something real. We sat until the sun fully set, until stars began appearing in the darkening sky. "Ready to go home?" Kai asked. "Home. Our small apartment above the bookstore. Temporary but ours. Soon to be replaced by the house we'd build together." "Yeah," I said. "Let's go home." We walked back through town, past shops closing for the night, past neighbors waving hello, past all the small signs of a life well lived. At the bookstore, Kai stopped. "Wait here," he said. "One more surprise." He disappeared inside, came back with a book. "I've been saving this. Thought tonight was the right time." I looked at the cover, a journal, blank pages. "For what?" "For you to write our story, your version, the way you experienced it, so we never forget how we got here. So if we ever have kids someday, they'll know that their parents fought for each other, chose each other, survived together." My throat was tight. "You think we'll have kids someday?" "I think we'll have whatever future we choose. Kids, maybe. Or maybe just us and a house on a cliff and a life spent building things. Whatever makes us happy." "You make me happy." "Good. You make me happy too." We went upstairs to our apartment. Kai started making dinner while I opened the journal. Stared at the first blank page. Then I picked up a pen and wrote. They gave him 48 hours to decide if he wanted to be free. He chose something better. He chose love. POV, Kai. 5 years later, I stood in the workshop behind our house, the one we'd built together over 2 years of weekends and evenings, sanding a rocking chair. Not just any rocking chair, one for the nursery. Thea was 6 months pregnant. We'd found out 3 months ago, cried together, laughed together, spent weeks being terrified we'd screw up this whole parenting thing. Then decided we'd probably screw it up, but we'd do it together, and that would have to be good enough. The workshop door opened. Thea poked her head in. "Dinner's almost ready," she said, and Marcus called, again. What did he want this time? To make sure we're coming to visit next month. He's very excited to be Uncle Marcus. I smiled. Marcus had become a real friend over the years, the only link to our past that we'd maintained. He'd gotten married himself last year, started a family, built something real out of the ashes of his old life. Proof that escape was possible, that change was real. "We'll go," I said, "after the baby comes, when Thea's cleared to travel." That's what I told him. She walked into the workshop, ran her hand over the rocking chair. It's beautiful. It's functional. It's beautiful, she insisted. Our kid is lucky. Getting a chair handmade by their father. Their father who used to kill people for a living. Their father who chose to become someone else. Who chose love over violence. Who chose family over everything. She took my hand. That's the man I want raising our child, not who you were, who you are. I pulled her close, careful of her belly, of the life growing inside her. Our child. The future we'd built. I'm terrified, I admitted. Me too. What if I'm not good at this? Then you'll learn. We both will. Together. Together. The word that had defined our entire relationship. I love you, I said. I love you too. We stood in the workshop surrounded by sawdust and half-finished projects and the smell of wood and varnish. Outside, the ocean crashed against the cliffs. Inside, our house waited, warm, safe, filled with books and photographs and all the accumulated evidence of a life well lived. This was freedom. Not the absence of obligation, not the escape from danger, but the presence of choice, the ability to build, to love, to become. Come on, Thea said. Dinner's getting cold. We walked back to the house hand in hand. Two people who'd started as hunter and prey, who'd become partners, survivors, lovers, who'd chosen each other every single day since, and who would keep choosing each other for whatever came next. Because that's what freedom meant. Not running from something, but running toward someone. Together. Always together. The end.